Asexuality, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours, covering dating, relationships, confidence, self-love, self-care, and so much more. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode like this when I go live. So, picture this. You've been friends with someone for a really, really long time. And in the beginning of the friendship, they were very much admiring you, and they were like looking up to you, inspired by you. You really felt they were invested in you and they valued you, and you were appreciated by them. They loved to see you and they were excited to see you and they were inquisitive about you. Then some years later, a couple of years ago, you start seeing the decline. You start seeing the fact they don't appreciate you like they used to. They're not enthusiastic to see you like they used to be. They don't value as much as they used to value. And that's, hello, stumbled across your stream. Is there a theme? Lots of love. Tonight's chat is about walking away and achieving things I never felt possible from walking away. So I'm currently diving into what happened with a friendship and explaining that this was a person I've been friends with for a long, long time, who I felt appreciated by, valued by, who I felt adored me to a certain extent, was inspired by me, and really, really did value me. But then a couple of years ago, things changed and I began to see differences in behavior. Superiority, devaluation, as far as I was concerned, not appreciating me as much, not being valued as much. And over the couple of years, less empathy and things like that. But this person was still doing things for me. They were still helping me because I have disabilities, unseen disabilities. So it's still a lot of acts of service they were doing for me. But, you know, in terms of like being really enthusiastic to see me, wanting to spend time with me, it was more one-sided, I felt. So I talked to this person number of times about a dynamic changing, because obviously if you're in any type of connection or relationship or friendship, this is a friendship, then you need to be having difficult conversations, which is something I don't like doing, but it's something that's absolutely necessary. But if you picture the contrast between feeling really valued by this person's really excited to see me, I felt they were really inquisitive about me, to the opposite, over the last couple of years being devalued, I felt, you know, not as enthusiastic to see me, not missing me anymore, spent less time with me. Unless I said about spending more time with them, then they would spend more time with me. So there ends up being an imbalance. And when this happens, you obviously have to address it with the person. But if they deny it and say there's nothing that's changed and everything is the same, then obviously if it's has changed, that's blurring your reality, which is really deeply unfair. Anyway, to cut a long story short, at the beginning of August, this person changed in the same day in their behavior, from planning a trip away with me to being a person that was no longer physically or emotionally safe with. And they decided to reconnect with someone who was very toxic for me from my past, who deceived me for over 5 years. And they knew how badly this person treated me because they saw it reveal in front of their very own eyes. And so I already said that if they decide to reconnect with this person, then it's unlikely that I could still stay friends with them, because I don't even want any indirect contact with this person. And they know how much this person deceived me and betrayed me for the whole 5 years of a friendship. This is another friendship. So that was their choice. And unfortunately, they got, you know, they got very unsafe for me to be around. It's putting it very politely. And so, you know, I wasn't expecting that behavior. So I had to decide that day about should I walk away or not. And I walked away and left that friendship. Now, that friendship I'd had for over 7 years, and that's not an easy thing to do, right? I hadn't at that point got any in-person friends whatsoever, any other in-person friends. And that is partly because I was betrayed by the other person who deceived me for 5 years in a friendship, and I'd taken a year out from just, from trying to make any more friends, because I just didn't want that again. I did not expect the other person to go back to the person who deceived me, who wasn't even good to them. They didn't even value them. So that was kind of really shocking, but that was their decision. So I decided to walk away from that person who used to help me a lot with my disabilities. Now, this is never ever an easy thing to do, and years ago I would not have had the courage to do this. But sometimes in your life, I want you to hear this, because I think it's really important. You have to have the courage to walk away, even if you've got no one else and nothing else but yourself. You have to do that, right? I couldn't have done this years ago. But what I want to tell you is how my life has changed so much for the better since that person is now no longer directly in my life anymore. When I say directly, I still have some legal ties with them that I cannot just get out of. So they're not 100% never ever going to be in my life ever again, because it's a legal document that I'm bound to them by. But I don't have anything to do with them unless it's do that, and I won't need to do anything to do with that for a while. So I'm really proud of myself for having the courage to walk away. Of course, I reflect on my own behaviour. Of course, I look and say, was I to blame for any of that? The way they behaved really not good with me. I look at that, and I look at the dynamic, and I look, because they did help me a lot with my disabilities. My disabilities are not easy, and I know that might have taken a toll on them, but even so, I tried to address that with them in different ways. And whenever I tried to address that, the majority of the time they would deny that anything was wrong over that as well. Anyway, my point is that it's always good to self-reflect, but the fact is I'd been monitoring this friendship for nearly 2 years because I'd seen a devaluation. What I mean by devaluation is not missing me as much anymore, seeing me less, unless I said I wanted to see them more, in which case they changed to see me more. Now, that to me is not an even friendship. An even friendship is someone who is equally invested in you, who wants to spend as much time with you as you do with them without even being asked, who wants to instigate meeting up without you saying that you want them to do that, and someone who really appreciates and values you, and who is emotionally invested in you, and who's empathetic, and all those other things. Now, there was moments of empathy, there was moments of emotional care, but they weren't consistent, and the lack of empathy got stronger and stronger over this year. At one point, they were even talking to me like an acquaintance in messages. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I want you to just know the contrast, right? Now, this person has done a lot for me, so I'm very grateful for what they did do for me. But at the end of the day, their behaviour in the end was unacceptable, and I knew I was no longer physically or emotionally safe with them, which was shocking, absolutely shocking, because the behavioural change in a day was just like phenomenal. And they were blaming me for the situation, and so I have a looked and analysed that, and it's at the end of the day, I told them if they reconnect with someone, this particular person who deceived me, then I would likely not be friends with them anymore. That's not actually because they were saying that I was controlling them. It's like, well, it's not control. They had the choice, which they made their decision to go back to that person. So I decided in my own best interest that I would leave that situation. Plus, I was no longer, the way they behaved towards me with like this, I was no longer safe around them physically or emotionally. Now, I have no one else helping me with my disabilities, and it's really hard. So I broke 2 bones in my spine last year, and I've got fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. I was diagnosed with osteopenia at the beginning of this year, right? Osteopenia means I've got more fragile bones, lower bone density, but I'm not a typical case. I'm under 50, so it's mostly for 50-year-olds plus. It's mostly for people usually who've been through menopause. I haven't even been through menopause. I have periods every month, right? And I don't have, I don't drink alcohol or take drugs or have caffeine, anything that lowers bone density. There's no sign of osteopenia or osteoporosis in any of my family history. And the calcium and vitamin D levels were good, right? So they were fine. So this is a bit of a mystery, but I think it's maybe to do with high cortisol levels from being stressed and anxious. And that's what I wanted to tell you. So it's been hard to leave that friendship because I was heartbroken with the way they treated me, especially in the end. There's no accountability for days. Eventually they said sorry, but it was more like, just going through the motions, in my opinion. I'm sorry I damaged the connection is an absolute understatement. Not sorry about the aggression, basically, and stuff like that. So anyway, I have been building a life for myself, and on this channel, you've seen me do it, right? So I want to tell you how much actual better I feel within myself. Like, I have some sense of inner peace occasionally now, which I've never experienced in my life before. Actually, just being on my own with myself, taking care of myself. I've been getting my body stronger. As you might have noticed, I've been doing weights. That isn't, someone said, oh, if you're trying to lose weight, go on a diet from blah, blah, blah channel. It's like, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm trying to get my spine stronger, my back stronger, my body stronger after having 2 broken bones in my spine last year. That's what I'm trying to do. These are my physio exercises. I've been under physio for over a year, and now I'm with the pain management team. And it's hard because I get pain from fibromyalgia, which makes it really difficult to do exercise because it hurts when I exercise. And then I have pain in my back, in my spine, if I don't do exercise. So one of the mentalities I've got now is I'm going to have pain whether I like it or not, in whichever case it is. So I'd rather be fitter and stronger and have pain than not. So I am doing these exercises with weights. It's really difficult for me, but my body is already stronger. My mind's stronger. My soul is stronger since I left this toxic friendship ending where I no longer felt valued or respected. And I felt very betrayed and deceived, by them, as well as the person who they were reconnecting to admittedly deceived me. So it's been really tough, but it's been good for me to just be with myself, even with no in-person friends, because I've only got myself to look after, and it's hard looking after other people's emotional needs or anything else when you've got disabilities. And I no longer have the feeling like, oh, I'm devalued. I no longer have the worry of, oh, what do they think of me, like, and stuff like this. I no longer have the sense that, oh, this person's not really asking me many questions about myself. Clearly, they're not really that interested in me. They might do things for me, but they're not actually asking me any questions about myself, or hardly any, So now all the issues that I had in that friendship have just obviously gone, right? I no longer have to have conversations where I keep saying I think the dynamics changed and that person just keeps denying it, which is basically denying my reality, because clearly it did change a couple of years ago, because they wouldn't have behaved the way they did behave in the end if it hadn't, right? And so, I feel so much more happy. I feel a lot more relaxed, a lot more energized. And you might have noticed on this channel, we've gone over 83,000 views now in 28 days, right? And I use an AI tool, and the AI tool was saying, what's changed? I'm like, I don't have my former best friend in my life anymore. I am free to be me. And that's liberating. I have more time now to be on this channel, to do videos I love, to experiment with videos more, because I don't have in-person friends usually, and so it's actually a really good thing for me. I find it a very healing thing. I'm on the bus and I get more and more people wanting to talk to me at the bus stop now. I get strangers, like this woman, she was an older woman. She started talking to me on the bus today and couldn't stop talking to me. I was trying to get off and she was still wanting to talk to me. She was talking to me about this channel, actually. And she just like she's going like, what type of videos do you do? And I was trying to get off the bus. So I find that people are much more happy to talk to me. People are much more interested in me. Now I've not got this kind of like toxicity and devaluation going on over me. Like I feel happier in my soul, in my personality, in my body. I feel happier again in just amazing ways. I feel some of the happiest times I've ever been in my life because I'm at peace finally. You know, I don't have the stress, I don't have the anxiety of worrying about if that person's going to be consistent with me or not. You know, if they, you know, like the why the dynamics changed in the friendship. And they could have just told me 2 years ago and been honest and say, yeah, the dynamics changed, but they didn't. So that wasn't very fair to me, right? But anyway, it's what it is, right? And so, like, I'm not saying they've never been there for me because they have been there for me a lot, especially in terms of for my disabilities. But you've got to have not just physical needs met, like acts of service. You've got to have your emotional needs met in a friendship. You know, you've got to feel like you're valued and appreciated and respected. You got to have someone who's being curious about you and being invested in you as a person, someone who equally wants to spend time with you, someone who equally wants to see you, not because you've said something to them, but because they naturally want that, someone who's enthusiastic to see you, someone who doesn't see it as a chore or an obligation or pity, but someone who really genuinely wants to spend time with you and wants to get to know you better, even if you've known each other for years, right? Someone's equally invested emotionally, right? And when that doesn't happen, there can be a deep imbalance. And sometimes it can feel better because you say something and their behavior improves. And then it just ends up going like declining again. And you end up on a roller coaster ride. So now I'm a lot more stable. I have a lot more peace, even in my own home. I can get items of food whenever I want because I've got a bus pass, which they told me I couldn't get, which the council, thank God, told me I can get. And so, you know, I have a lot more freedom now. I can go and do shopping when I want. I don't have to pay for the bus fare because of my disabilities. I can, you know, I do my own shopping. I can be a lot more self-reliant. I've got my body fitter than it's been before. I do exercises, some sort of exercise, usually every day now, which is really hard for me to do, but I do that. I'm stronger in myself. I'm on this channel trying multiple things out, like singing videos. I never knew people would like me singing. A lot of people have criticized me for my voice in the past. And I'm like, oh, well, what the hell? Just do it, Sandra. You only live once. If people don't like it, they don't like it. And that's fair enough. But a lot of people seem to like it. So I really appreciate the likes, you know. And I just feel much better in myself. I feel so happy that I walked away because had I stayed in that friendship, which I couldn't do because of the way it ended, I was no longer emotionally and physically safe, there would have been even more imbalance in the power imbalance, right? And that would have just been even worse for me. And that person would, you know, it was just been awful. I knew it was impossible, but years ago I would have stayed in that type of situation. Years ago I would have stayed and I'd have been upset, like, how can they do it? How can they go back to someone who betrayed and deceived me? How can they reconnect with someone? They don't value me, they don't care about me, which is true, really, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? If they really valued me, then they wouldn't have been going back to a toxic person. And if they even valued themselves, they wouldn't be doing that. But there we go. That's my personal opinion. So I'm not saying, you know, I'm very grateful for the times they were good to me and the help they did give me. I really am, you know. And I know it's not easy because I've got disabilities. And obviously I had to analyze, like, did I make myself reliant on them? I was reliant on them a lot for my disabilities, or were they keeping me reliant on them because of my disabilities, right? You know what I mean? So it's hard to decipher that. And when you look back at things, you can see red flags that you perhaps didn't see before. But also, you know, people change, and sometimes they change for the better and sometimes they change for the worse. Right. And so that's just what happens with some people. Everyone's at different life stages. Everyone's got their own struggles. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to show you how much better your life can be when you can walk away, even with nothing and no one else, right? Where you can literally just leave a situation without having any other friends in person. I don't know many people who could just walk away from the only like in-person friend they've got and be on their own completely. I don't know many people who could do that, but because I really do love myself and I've worked hard to do that, and because the situation was just no good for me anyway, and they gave me no choice in the end but to leave anyway, really. Even though they kept saying I'll always be your friend, I'm like thinking, you know, you don't get to choose that, right? The other person doesn't get to choose you being, you know, you always staying friends with them if they're not treating you well. You get to choose that. Friendship is a two-way thing, not a one-way thing, right? And so always remember that. So I'm more positive now in my life. I'm a lot more relaxed. I don't have so much nervousness anymore, so much tension, so much stress, so much high cortisol levels. I'm working on my fitness. I'm working on my health. I just feel a lot more peaceful. Like when I go shopping, even I can do it my way. I can pack the shopping trolley exactly how I want it. I can get a lot of stuff without being told this is too much to get, and I can just enjoy it and think, wow, I can get exactly what I want when I want. And I have more freedom now. I have more freedom by being on my own and not having to think about another person, because obviously you have to think about another person if you are in a friendship or relationship. You have to. But sometimes, like, think of another person, you know, it can cause you more stress and difficulties, which I'm sure it probably did for them at the time, because I've got a lot of disabilities, you know, and it was hard, I expect, for them as well. But at the end of the day, you know, I've been able to walk away from that situation with my head held high. I'm still having a grieving process because of the situation of how they changed and their behavior, and I'm like, now I'm questioning like what was real in the last couple of years, because I felt a shift in our dynamic for a couple of years, nearly since October 2023. So I was clearly right about the dynamic shifting, but you know, when someone keeps denying it, that's what's a horrible thing. You know, they blur your reality, which is a really cool thing to do. And so I'm just happy now I'm free and away from that person. I'm glad they helped me when they did. They helped me move and they did a lot of stuff for me. But at the end of the day, it's not just about acts of service and what people do for you. It's about having the emotional capacity to be there for you emotionally and to connect with you in a way that feels equal, that has reciprocity, that feels like they're curious with you. Like one of the red flags in an actual romantic relationship, for example, is when someone doesn't ask you questions about yourself. When someone doesn't ask you questions about yourself, and it's a romantic connection, for example, it means they're attracted to you. It means they like your company. But if they're not asking you questions about yourself, then they're not really curious about you as a person. So they're not really invested in you in that way. Do you know what I mean? So I just am rebuilding my life at the moment and feeling a lot more happier, a lot more in control of my life and myself. I feel better that I'm able to rely on myself more. I feel a lot less stressed, because when there's an imbalance in something, it's emotionally draining. When you feel like you're the one trying to repair the friendship in ways that you see as broken, but the other person is denying that it's even kind of broken, then it's hard. It's hard work. It's a huge emotional toll. It's hugely stressful, and you know, it takes a toll on you. I'm sure it took a toll on him sometimes when he was helping me with my disabilities. But at the end of the day, that doesn't excuse someone having behavior towards the other person that makes them feel unsafe and disrespected and, you know, gaslights and blames a person, basically. So I am just glad that I've left that situation and that I'm a lot more free now in my life, free to express myself, free to be myself. I feel so much lighter. I feel so much more like my younger self again. I feel happier. People are more drawn to me again. Like strangers are wanting to talk to me. They're curious about me. I think I've got a different energy about me. I think I've got a more relaxed energy about me. I think I've got a more happy energy about me. You know, now all I have to do is basically please myself and look after myself, which is a lot easier, and nourish myself emotionally, nourish myself with good foods, nourish myself with positive self-talk, nourish myself with getting fitter. Now, this doesn't mean to say I'm not still grieving, because it's important that when anything happens like this, that you go through a grieving process, right? For the good times that you shared, the good times that you lost, the, you know, the upset and the pain, the deception, the change in behavior, the shock of it all, you know? When someone changes behavior drastically in the same day like that, it's just shocking because you don't see it coming. And so this happened like beginning of August now. So yeah, but I actually started feeling inner peace about 3 weeks ago. So for the first time ever in my life. So you know something was wrong when a friendship, or it could be even, if you're experiencing a romantic relationship or connection in life, if you then separate from that person, break up from them, leave that connection, and then all of a sudden you start feeling better, you feel less stressed, more relaxed, happier in your body, happier in yourself, more positive about yourself, more positive about your image, more positive about your body, more positive about yourself in general, and you feel like you're flying more in life, then that is very telling, because it shows that something wasn't right. So always, always trust your instincts. And it's very difficult if someone denies your reality. If someone says, if your instincts tell you that something's changed in a connection, but they keep denying it, then that is just very cruel, in my opinion. It really blurs a person's reality. It makes you question your own judgment all the time. It makes you think that, are you just paranoid, or is there, something that you're just like not, is it your anxiety, or is it something else? Like, or maybe you're just got it wrong somehow. But then when you find out and they reveal their true colors and the mask slips off, as I call it, then you're like, oh, right, okay, I was right all along then. Why did you even deny it? Why didn't you just be honest with me? And so that is a shame. That's a damn shame, but sometimes people, for their own reasons, are, not 100% honest. And that's for them to sort out. That's not for you to sort out. So we're not responsible for other people's behavior like that. And I want you to know that, and it absolutely takes horrendous amount of courage to actually leave a situation and a connection that's bad for you in the end, especially if there's been a lot of good times mixed in with that as well, especially if they've done good things for you and done good deeds. It can make you feel like, hang on a minute, like, it makes you feel like you might be losing something. But at the end of the day, if you lose yourself because that person doesn't value you like you value them, and doesn't appreciate you as much as you appreciate them, and doesn't, not curious about you anymore, not enthusiastic to see you anymore, not missing you like they did, and spending less time with you unless you say something to them, then they up their time with you, then something's desperately wrong, right? And it feels an imbalance. And when you feel imbalanced, you genuinely feel crushed. I mean, it's emotionally draining, right? And so I want you to know that it's okay to walk away, that it's absolutely necessary if there's a power imbalance in the friendship and or romantic connection, if you have a romantic connection. And it's absolutely essential that you leave that in the end, because a power imbalance means that person's only going to get more and more power in the connection. If they don't value as much as you value them, they've got more power, haven't they? I don't like saying this, but it's actually true, because it doesn't matter so much. They feel they can do what they want because it doesn't have any consequences. So by me walking away, their actions had consequences. Do you know what I mean? Like, I told them that I'd likely have to walk away if they decided to do that. And so that's what I did. And that was one of the hardest decisions and most courageous acts of self-love I've ever done. Because to walk away from someone who helped me so much with my disabilities, and who was there for me a lot of the time for years, and who I was friends with for years, was really difficult. But I want you to know that it's absolutely essential that you do walk away. Do you know what I mean? That you do, go and be free, and you do live your life you know, the way that's essential for you. So I think it's very, very important that you leave a situation that's no longer healthy for you, even if you have nothing or no one to go to. Most people won't do this, but you've got to have the courage to do it, because now I'm so much happier in my life. I'm so much freer. I'm so much more at peace in my own body. I have less pain, maybe a bit as well, because I'm not so anxious all the time. I'm not so stressed all the time. I'm not trying to keep the friendship going in a way that I think, you know, is I'm trying to get to like a healthy place again. Do you know what I mean? When that person hasn't valued you as much, then it's important to just like know your worth and value and walk away. Hello, P for L. I appreciate you. I haven't been able to see all the chat. So for some reason the chat hasn't been going down, so I'm just going to go to chat a few minutes. So do you know what I mean? To see who's in the chat. So sorry I haven't been looking at comments, but I think it's really important. So thank you to everyone who's left comments. Literally the comment thread, you should be moving, but it's not. I could only see like the first comment and the second one that was retracted. So I'm just going to go for it. So P for L, thank you so much. It's lovely to see you. I'm from the UK. But no, I'm not in. I'm asexual in sexual orientation. In case you didn't know that, I lack sexual attraction. So lovely eyes, thank you. How are you? Said P for L. I'm doing good. I'm not interested in doing a video call with a stranger, Frankie, but thanks for the offer. And I'm asexual. I'm not interested in having sex. I'll just make that clear. Asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on the lack of sexual attraction. So I have attraction to guys, but not sexual attraction, in case you want to know what asexuality is. P for L, I'm so proud of you for speaking up and talking about it. Always here for you. Thank you. Have a breath. You're too passionate. I'm glad I'm passionate. I love it. So how are you today? How are you feeling? I'm feeling good, actually. So yeah, I did my own shopping, which felt great. So yeah, I really appreciate you being here. I'm gonna carry on talking. So thank you for everyone. Play something from Jeff Buckley, please. Depopulation, she's talking about how she was deceived by someone. Yeah. Yep. So someone keeps talking about Jeff Buckley. I don't know who Jeff Buckley is, but yes, I'm not going to play some Jeff Buckley in the middle of me talking. That's rude. So thank you for the love. So yeah, so last year I broke 2 bones in my spine at a business event. So that's been really difficult. So I've been doing a lot of physio, and like I said, I've gone to the I'm under the pain management team in the hospital now, so I'm still waiting for an MRI scan. So I had to go through that on my own, which I would usually have had the person there for me, maybe some of the time. Do you know what I mean? Thank you for the post that you made on your channel. Didn't have to. Oh yeah, P for L on their channel asked people to subscribe to my channel. So if you come over from P for L's channel, I really appreciate you doing that. And thank you for the post. I'm glad you like the post. Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you that walking away can be the most courageous act you'll ever do, but it can also be the most incredibly liberating act you can ever do for yourself. Because if someone's behavior is no longer acceptable to you and you feel disrespected and there's a lack of accountability there, then, you know, regardless of how much they've done for you and how many times they have shown care in sometimes in some ways, if there's an imbalance and there's a toxicity going on and they've made a choice to reconnect with someone who caused you a lot of harm, then you have every right to leave that situation. And you can leave any situation at any time. But I'm a person who likes to try to make friendships work and relationships. Everyone has a hard time with friendships and relationships. Do you know what I mean? They're not easy, right? It's hard because you're trying to have two people who are very different in some ways come together. So me and this person were very different in lots of ways, right? Very, very different, different energies, different interests, different tastes. And, so that can be hard, but it's like, if there's mutual respect there, if there's mutual care there, mutual support, mutual curiosity, mutual valuation, the person values you, mutual like interest in you and your life, mutually wanting to see you, mutually wanting to spend time with you, not because you say, but and to pacify you or please you, but just because they actually genuinely want to do that. If there's all these like really good traits there, then of course it's good. People do argue, people do disagree, people do fall out, but you have to look at the situation for what it is. And if you feel there's an imbalance in the friendship or relationship, then you do have to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's very, very important to do that. And so what, if things don't work out, but if things end up in not a good way, then you obviously have to leave. And I'm just so proud of my actual self for leaving. Like, I've got many more views on this channel than I've ever had before in my entire life. I'm doing a lot more different things on this channel. I've got a lot more time to spend on this channel. I've got 2 other channels that are doing really well as well. I feel happier relying on myself, like with shopping and with my disabilities. I feel a lot more at peace with myself in general, a lot more happier to be me. And I feel like I value me. They say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with, but if you just hang out with yourself, so long as you're ploughing yourself with positivity, self-development, personal care, strengthening your body, mind, and soul, and you're actively working on yourself, then you're doing good, right? I do see a psychotherapist for my mental health, which I've been seeing since October last year. And so, it's important to exercise your mental health as well as your physical health, right? There's no shame in having a therapist, and it's very, very important, right? Because I know I need to do work on myself. Like, if I'm attracting people that end up deceiving me, like, there's clearly work I need to do on myself, right? As to why I end up in situations like I've ended up in a couple of situations with these so-called friendships that have then ended in some sort of like toxicity for me and deception. That's my responsibility to bear as to why I am getting myself into these situations, even if I didn't see it coming. I have to address that. Like, what were the signs that I missed? What were the things that I didn't notice that I should have paid attention to? Or what did I get myself into that I probably shouldn't have got myself into in the first place, because maybe I had to have stronger boundaries or stronger standards, or maybe there was just behaviors from myself that led to me being with those types of people. So this means I need to work on myself. We always have to self-reflect and see what part we played in the ending, in the dynamic shift, in the ending, in whatever. But obviously, if a person's denying there's any change, then you can't change that with the person. You can't adapt and grow if that person's not even willing to meet you halfway. Right? You have to have a person who's willing to meet you halfway, whether it's a friendship or a romantic connection. And you have to have a person who's willing to work on themselves as well as you work on yourself, and work together as a team to grow together. You can't fight the battle for both of you, right? If you're the last one fighting to keep the friendship, you've got to like go eventually, because you shouldn't be fighting on your own to save a friendship. If they're not equally invested and fighting to keep the friendship in a healthy way, then what the hell are you doing? You have to remove yourself from that situation, which is what I did. And thank God I did, because if I'd have stayed in there, I would have just my mental health would have declined more, my physical health would have declined more. and I wouldn't be feeling as strong as I do now. I wouldn't be feeling as at peace as I do now. I wouldn't be feeling less stressed as I am right now. Do you know what I mean? I'd be still tense, and I'd be still trying to think what's changed, and a power play and all that sort, you know? It's not good when someone goes from you valuing you and appreciating you and kind of like being inspired by you to actually, you know, not valuing you and stuff like this. So I really believe that you have to have the courage to walk away, and that your life can be completely transformed in much better ways when you have the courage to leave a situation that's no longer tenable for you. Just like you can have some jobs where a job is no longer tenable for you because, you know, maybe you haven't got on with the boss, or there's been a work colleague that you just really can't get on with. And no matter how much you try, you're just different people, or you just rub each other up the wrong way, or you're just not working together in harmony anymore, or you never did. Then, you know, you have to leave that situation. And this is what happens in romantic relationships or friendships. Sometimes people change. Sometimes people change for the better, and they grow with you, and they grow together, and you grow at the same rate. And other times people grow, but they don't necessarily grow in all the healthy ways. And so, you know, if they change, but they change in ways that are disrespectful towards you, and, you know, the lack of emotional investment there. Emotional neglect is a really big thing. It's a big deal in any type of relationship. So someone can be there for you physically a lot, but like emotionally unavailable, or inconsistent in their emotional availability, which then ends up feeling like a roller coaster that you're going up and down the whole time, right? And it can be very difficult. Everyone is imperfect, right? It's like, how much imperfection and compromise and things do you allow and accept? I find this even difficult myself to know, right? Because I'm not perfect. I mean, I know that when I'm going to get food, for example, in a food shop, I'm very picky. I can spend ages just trying to pick some nectarines up and stuff like this, right? I like cleaning done in a certain way. I like things being done in a certain way. That's quite fussy. You know what I mean? Which might really annoy some people. Luckily, I live on my own. I've lived on my own for years, right? And that's what I told myself. First of all, when this person behaved really terribly towards me in the end, which I did not deserve, then, you know, when they first did that, you know, out of the blue, I was absolutely gobsmacked and in shock, and it really hurt. But now I've had the courage to walk away. I feel a lot better. AA, struggling to be with my non-vegan girlfriend because of the lack of shared values. It makes me question why she is okay abusing animals though through her eating habits. That's really difficult. I have to say, honestly, I'm not a vegan. And so therefore, but I don't eat pork, lamb or beef. So, but I'm not a vegan, just in case you don't like me as well, which is perfectly fine because I understand. But yeah, yeah, because I eat some meat, I kind of like well, I haven't had a long-term relationship for a long time, so, but if they ate red meat, like, I don't know how I'd feel about it, but I do know, like, it's difficult even though I don't, because I don't eat red meat, but I'm kind of used to people doing that. But I can understand. Like, I've had guys who are vegetarians, and they're like, couldn't be with me because obviously I do eat some meat and fish. I eat chicken, turkey and fish, basically. That's the three things I eat. And it's not good for them. You sound like you have vegan values. Oh, thank you. Well, I did take a bag back because I was trying to find a handbag, right? A big bag to take to London. And I got the perfect one, apart from it was leather, and it was gold sparkly, but it didn't actually go with my outfit anyway. But I couldn't keep it. I had to take it back to the shop because I felt like I was walking around with a dead cow on my arm, to be quite frank with you. And I know other people don't feel like this, but I did. And I hated the smell of the leather as well. And I took it back and got a refund. And I bought a PVC metallic one from Amazon, which I much prefer. But I do have leather on my shoes, and I do have a leather case, so I am guilty of that. I'll be honest with you. But even though I don't eat pork, lamb or beef, but I do eat some chicken, fish and turkey, I do even find it difficult when, like if I'm kissing a guy, for example, and I'm in a relationship with him, I prefer it if he cleans his teeth and stuff like that, because I don't even like, I don't like the taste of red meat, but I don't make him do that. But I can understand how difficult it must be if you're vegan. That must be really horrible for you, because if you've got such different values that you find what they do is abusive, then it might not be the right relationship for you. I hate to say that, but it might be true. I mean, in the end, me and this person had such different values. Values is one of the things they talked about. And the thing they valued, they told me a couple of years, but they changed it a little bit so I could still be friends with them. They said they had a particular value, but they're willing to be wrong about that. So that's how come I was able to stay friends with them. But then in the end, they went back to the same value without that willing to be wrong bit. And, I'm like thinking, well, why did you even bother adding that on there? Probably because at the time, 2 years ago, you didn't want me to not be friends with you, but now you don't really care. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's just weird what they had a value about as well. So what are the most important values to you when looking to date someone? Honesty is my top important thing to for a person to date me. So I hate lies, any little lies, I can't stand them. So honesty, 100% honesty is very important to me. True kindness, not superficial kindness. So superficial kindness is when someone is acting like they're kind to put on a performance for other people to think that person's kind. Think like it in terms of like a narcissist, for example. They can be very bravado, very showy. I've been in relationships, romantic relationships in the past with narcissists. Some of them can be very good at giving you gifts, lavish you with beautiful gifts. Like from the outside, it looks like, my God, you've got someone who really loves you. They're just giving you whatever you want in terms of gifts, this, gift, that, cook for you maybe, and all this type of stuff. But then behind closed doors, they're like shouting at you, swearing at you, and God knows what else. So yeah, kindness, honesty, respect, compassion, empathy is a huge one as well. So in the past, I would have looked for just character traits. I would have looked for more like the fact that I'm attracted to the guy, like aesthetically and stuff like that, and romantically. But now I look for more character traits. How do you identify that? It's hard to tell when people are being fake like that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't know until you spend some time with them, right? So sometimes they slip up and they tell you opposing things, right? But even if they tell you opposing things, they can then still lie about it. So they have a habit of blurring your reality. This is why it's hard even for me. At the moment, I'm just happy being single, not being in a relationship, and not even having any close friends anymore. Right? Because I just I need to be by myself. I'm happier by myself. And if you've had trust broken, you have to dial back and spend more time loving yourself to get a sense of yourself again, and confidence and self-trust, and trust your inner gut more. Because when you have people who are blurring your reality, it's harder to trust your own voice and your own mind and instincts. But when you go away from those people and you've broken things off with them, you then can hear your own voice a lot louder, and so you can pay attention to it more, right? And so, but it is hard. There are people out there that fake it. They're very good at faking it. I mean, this connection that ended, that I walked away from, I mean, the change in behavior was like day and night in the same day. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? I was in an absolute shock. They went from planning a day trip with me, all nice and calm, to being like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, what the hell happened? Do you know what I mean? And they seem to think that behavior was fine. Really, I mean, there was a quick like sorry under the breath, I think, but I don't even think that was for anything they even realized they'd done. I think it was just a knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't really like, it was like they were carrying on like they didn't even behave like that. I'm like, what the hell? So it is hard. So some of it is like they'll contradict themselves. So they, for example, they might say they don't drink much, right? I've had this recently where a person said, oh, when I'm out, I only have a couple of drinks, right? This is what they said to me at one point in time, right? In the morning. By the end of the day, they were saying, oh, yeah, because I was saying, oh, I like that. This place is a place I've gone clubbing in the past, but it's also a bar as well. And they're like, oh yeah, me and my friends like going there. We're going on this pub crawl, and we're going to at least 3 pubs on October the 3rd, and we're going to here, there, and there, and you know, and drinking loads. And I'm thinking, you just told me earlier on that you only like a couple of drinks when you're out, probably because they know that I don't drink any alcohol whatsoever. So instead of being honest and just being themselves and admitting that they just like a drink, which is fine. I mean, I'm not spending time with them when they're doing that anyway. So, and then it's not a romantic thing. It's just a friendship connection. So it's not like it's any skin off my nose, really, as long as they don't get, you know, completely annihilated around me. And so, you know, they're incoherent on behaving badly to me or something. Do you know what I mean? And I don't drink anyway. And they weren't drinking when they were with me. So, I mean, they could have just told me the truth, but instead they made up complete bullshit. And said basically that I don't even know if they realized they did it, because I think they might have forgot what they said in the morning. But this is the thing, you see, they contradict themselves when they lie, but then they might deny they contradicted themselves. You know, it might be like, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that. No, I never said that. Do you know what I mean? And then that's what's really bad. So they usually contradict themselves, and that is a major thing they do. They'll say one thing, then they'll do the other. They'll say they're interested in something, but then they'll show disinterest in it. They'll say that such and such happened, but then you find out later it didn't happen either in the way they said it happened, or something else entirely happened. Do you know what I mean? Contradiction's a big thing. Sorry to hear your trust has been broken. It's great that you're happy at the moment. Thank you. Drinking loads is a problem. Yeah, I've quit drinking entirely now. Oh, bless you. I think men have a habit of just telling women what they want to hear, basically lying. Yeah. I mean, it's really horrible. Like, no one deserves to be lied to. Do you know what I mean? I personally, if I was to be in a relationship with someone, I personally either prefer them not to drink anything at all, or just have a drink in moderation. Do you know what I mean? Like real moderation. But this person it wasn't a romantic thing. So I don't even know why they bothered saying that. It was just literally to impress me, probably, and because I don't drink. But actually, it's stupid. So you know, it's totally unnecessary. They don't need to behave like that. They can just like do what they like. They're not attached to me. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird. It's an absolutely weird thing to say, because it's like, it's clearly like you're trying to impress me or something, but it doesn't impress me. And similarly, they contradicted something about like, oh, they're really good with timekeeping. Then later on, I find out they don't even show up for their friends a lot of the time. I'm like, what the hell? And I bet if I talk to this person, which I'll probably have to talk to them soon about this, then I bet they'd even deny it. Maybe they had a problem, but are in denial. Well, it doesn't really matter. Like, if a person has a problem and they're in denial, then that's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's not your problem. We have to get out of the habit of trying to solve other people's problems. I have to get out of that habit. Like, I'm genuinely like a person who likes helping people, but I have to learn that I'm not, you know, I'm not here to be, I don't want kids anyway, so I'm not here to mother anyone, but I'm not here to like be, you know, like, I'm not here to be a therapist to someone else. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to deal with other people's problems. At the end of the day, they lied, right? Because I don't drink. That's purely the crux of the matter. They lied about something else as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just one thing. It's 2 things in one day. So you can only do it by listening, but some people are very clever at covering up things, and they might contradict themselves and say 2 completely different things that deny the contradiction, and go and be very oblivious to it. Like, did I contradict myself? Or, oh, I didn't realize I do that. But do you know what I mean? It's like, do words and actions line up all the time consistently? If their words and their actions don't align, then again, you've got an issue. That words and actions should both align. So the actions should match the words, and the words should match the actions. So if someone says they really love and care about you, but then that actions show otherwise, like they shout, they go to hurt you physically or emotionally. Obviously people make mistakes in relationships and no one's perfect, and someone does hurt another person's feelings sometimes. But if you got someone physically like trying to hurt you and something, yet they're saying they love you, that's not true, is it? Are you a fan of dating apps? How do you recommend meeting people? I have used dating apps. I've been on dating apps and websites for over 10 years and I still haven't found the right person. For me, I am asexual, so that does have an impact, and I have got special niche needs. At the moment, I'm very much okay on my own. I'm not even sure if I ever want to. I'm open to a serious, committed, loving relationship, but I think I have some more work to do on myself, considering I just had this friendship end in the way it did, like beginning of August. It's clear I've got work to do on myself because I ended up in that situation. So I'm not even looking, like, I'm open to friendship as well, making friends, but I'm not like, it's not my priority. So I personally, like, I'm on Badoo still, but it's horrendous on there. Like, most people, in my opinion, are looking to hook up. It's got a category for asexuals. Asexual means I lack sexual orientation, sorry, I have a sexual orientation is asexuality, means I lack sexual attraction. Asexual means that the relationship would be like a friendship. Sorry, I've never met anyone who was asexual. No, so I would kiss and cuddle in a relationship, which I obviously don't do with a friend. So it depends on the asexual. So like, some asexuals are non-romantic, so their relationship might be more of a deep friendship, but it's not the same as having just a friendship, if you know what I mean. So for example, I get aesthetic attraction, romantic attraction, intellectual attraction to some guys, depends on the guy, some sensual attraction from the guy's upper body, this type of thing. So I don't kiss my friends. Like, if I got friends, I don't go around kissing them. That's something I would reserve only for a romantic relationship. It's basically similar to what heterosexual people have, but just without the sex. But for me, I don't like nudity either. That's very rare. I just don't like nudity. Every asexual person's different. Some asexuals do have sex. I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, so I don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse at all, even if I'm kissing a guy a lot. And so I can kiss a guy for a long, long time and never have that urge whatsoever. It's just not inbuilt into me. But I can feel hugely romantic and passionate and want to snog a guy's face off, which I definitely don't do with a friend. 100% don't do that with a friend. So I've got very distinct differences between someone who's my friend and someone who I'm in a romantic relationship with. If I'm in a romantic relationship, I'm kissing, cuddling them, holding their hand, sat on the lap, in between their legs, all this type of thing, and just not interested in the sex or getting my clothes off. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, every asexual is different though. Some asexuals are sex positive and they'll still have sex even if they don't experience sexual attraction. I'm not. It must make the potential dating pool very limited. Hopefully you meet the right person. Yeah, it makes the dating pool a lot more limited. So it's about recorded 1% of the population who are asexual. So 1 in 100 people you meet are likely to be asexual, but they're not usually out about it like I am. However, within asexuality, there's so many different types of asexuals. There's non-romantic asexuals. There's more non-romantic, otherwise known as aromantic asexuals, or aromantic, depending on how you want to pronounce it. They lack romantic attraction as well as sexual attraction. You can get aromantic sexuals, heterosexuals, for example, and aromantic asexuals. Basically, aromantic means they have an absence of romantic attraction. So for the asexuals that have an absence of romantic attraction as well as an absence of sexual attraction, a lot of those don't even want a relationship at all whatsoever. They're not interested in it. They're just interested in having good friends. But if they were interested in a relationship, it would be more likely they want to cuddle, for example, rather than have sex, and the friendship would be deeper. They share a bed and stuff like that, maybe. But some asexuals share a bed with their friends. I don't do that. I completely just don't do stuff like that. To me, that's complete boundary that I wouldn't cross, because I believe friendships you shouldn't do that with. That's my personal value and belief, you know. So yeah, I mean, I like living on my own as well. Even in a relationship, I prefer to live separately. I've lived with people in the past and it just hasn't worked out for me. I like my own space. I like to pay my own bills. It's a lot less stressful. I've had a lot of stress in the past with joint accounts and financial stuff, and I just don't like it. It actually causes a lot of problems in relationships. I much prefer having separate bank accounts and having separate places. Then they can pay for their own place, I can pay for mine, and you know what I mean. You talk well about the topic. There should be greater awareness of it. As 1 in 100 people, it's more than I would have expected. Thank you. I have spoken at the UK Asexuality conference in 2018, actually, and also Oxford University for Blue Talks in 2023. So I've done some speaking, but yeah, I've had this channel now for 10 years in October this year. So since 2015. I appreciate the compliment. So yeah, there should be great awareness of it. I really agree with that. Like Badu has a category for asexual, so you can say you're asexual and sexual orientation, but it has no filter for asexuality. So, you know, if I'm trying to find another asexual person on Badu, it has no filter for that. It has a filter for like bisexual, I think it is, lesbian, gay, you know, and other. It doesn't have a filter for asexuals. I'm like, why have a category for asexuals yet you can't filter by that? I've met about, I think it's 9 asexuals in total I've come across on there. That's more just like you know, them coming across me and me coming across them, if you know what I mean. Sounds like there is a gap in the market for asexual apps. There are asexual apps. There are asexual apps and asexual dating sites. I run 6 asexual groups on Facebook, 3 of which are dating. But even then, I can't find the right person because a lot of asexuals are completely different. We all have asexuality in common, yet a lot of us are very, very different in our values and our beliefs and our likes and our dislikes in terms of like our hobbies and interests, but also in terms of physicality. Some people are asexual just like a pat on the shoulder. Some asexuals are touch averse. Some asexuals just like a little peck on the cheek. Some asexuals might just a like little kiss on the lips. Some asexuals, they want to live together. Other asexuals don't want to live together. It's just a lot of us are spread out all around the world. So there's already people that specialize in dating websites, and there's an app usually for that, or they can just go on the website. Do you know what I mean? So I'm on some of them still, but a lot of them aren't very proactive as well, which is really annoying because like heterosexuals tend to be a lot more proactive. This is what I've found, which is sad in my opinion. Heterosexuals tend to be a lot more proactive on dating sites because they're looking to have sex. I personally have found that a lot of asexuals, because they don't need the sex, are not so proactive. A lot of them are happier and content just being on their own if they find someone. It's like if they do, they do, they don't, they don't. But I'm all about being proactive. Like I've been proactive. I had a break because last year I met someone on a dating app, Facebook dating. In case you didn't know, Facebook dating has an app on the actual phone. So, hi, how are you? Do you want to be my sugar mum? Have you not just heard a word I say? I'm asexual. I'm not interested in sex, and I do not have to pay a guy to have a relationship with me or intimacy with me. So that's a totally disgusting thing. I don't want to be a mother to anyone. Thanks very much. I'm young, not like that. I don't want to have any children. And sugar mum is paying a young guy for sex. I don't need to pay a young guy for sex. I have a queue of guys who'd love to have sex with me all over social media, but I'm not interested. Do you know what I mean? So that's very offensive. Right. When did you realise you were asexual? I discovered I'm asexual in 2014. So I have done a video on my channel. It's like there's a trailer, like a channel trailer that explains more about that. But I discovered I'm asexual in 2014. So I had my last long-term relationship in 2011. I did actually have sex in that relationship. So I'm asexual that has had sex in the past. I had it because I felt I had to as part of a normal relationship. So, you know, I just like, Like, I'm just going to remove that comment because they're just being ridiculous. Um, if you don't keep the chat respectful, other people, I'm not talking about AA who's asking me respectful, questions. If you don't keep the chat respectful, I shall start blocking people or deleting your messages. This chat is meant to be respectful. I've got people asking me questions, so please keep it respectful. So in 2011 was when my last long-term relationship ended, and I haven't been in another long-term relationship since then. So that's not because I've not wanted to be, but it's just because it's not worked out. I've just had a couple of short-term relationships which weren't intended to be short-term. And then and so they were literally just short-term. But anyway, my last long-term relationship ended in 2011, and then in 2013 I dated a really hot, looking, aesthetically hot Bangladeshi guy. Like, well, I wasn't dating, I was actually in a relationship with him. Yes, he was younger because I like younger guys. He was 23. That's what I mean. I don't have to pay someone to get into a relationship with me. But he wanted sex with me and I didn't want sex with him. And he was really hot. Like, I was really attracted to him aesthetically. I really loved kissing him. But I just couldn't bring myself to have sex with him because he just wasn't what I wanted to do. Every part of my being was like, I can't do this because I'm not interested in it. And the only reason I did it in past because I felt like I had to. And then, after 2011, I just couldn't ever do it again. Like, something inside me just realized that it wasn't meant for me. The only reason I liked that time with my ex, I think, is because he was nice to me then. In other ways, he wasn't nice to me. But whenever we had sex, he was nice. And I think I liked the time I had with him with that because he was nice to me. He was like a completely different person when I was having sex with him. It's really weird. So I'm just going to hide this person on my channel because they're just being ridiculous, talking about being a sugar mummy and stuff and making comments. So I'm not interested. Right, that's ended that. Right, it's great that you have understood yourself now and are not trying to conform to the norms. Thank you. I'm definitely not conforming to the norms anymore. Like, back in 2013 I was doing some sexual stuff with that guy to please him. But I'm not that way anymore. I've got a lot more self-love these days. I'm not going to push myself to do something I don't want to do. Now, if any guys on a website, on dating apps, I literally put up front, I'm not interested in sex. Not any type of sex, only kissing. Right? But I have to keep changing my profile and moderating it because I've had guys that are like, I've had guys say to me okay, so you want to have sex, so what will you do for me? Will you give me a BJ, meaning a blowjob? And it's like, what part of I don't want sex do you not understand? So then I have to put I don't want any type of sex to cover all the different types of sex rather than just straightforward sex, if you know what I mean. So, but I've had guys who just want kissing hookups with me because I like kissing. And it's like, that's not why I'm putting I like kissing the profile. I'm just saying I do like kissing, not that I want to meet up for just kissing. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, they literally will travel far. Just kiss me. I'm not interested. I'm like, well, yeah, it's just like, I'm not interested. It's not, I want an actual, proper, healthy, committed relationship, not just like a kissing hookup. You know what I mean? It's not really, I do love kissing though. Don't get me wrong. I really do. Sometimes I kiss guys in nightclubs before, even though I'm single. Well, it's precisely because I'm single. I do have kissing needs, but, so it can be really difficult because if I don't put I always put I'm asexual, but in the time when I didn't put I don't like all types of sex, there was still seemed to be hope by guys. So there's still loads of guys messaging me now. It's really difficult and different. With Facebook dating, I tried that. That's what I was talking about earlier. But I met 4 guys in person off there, and all of them lied. Every single guy I met in person on Facebook dating lied to me. All of them, which was just shocking. And one of them came back into my life a few weeks ago, who I dated 2 years ago. I didn't even remember who he was. He had to remind me. That was so funny. I find it hilarious when that happens. I'm like, who are you? They're like, oh, we knew each other. I'm like, how do we know each other? I'm like, oh, we dated 2 years ago. What did they lie about? So mostly they lied about the fact they could be with a person without sex in a relationship because they know I don't have sex, and I write that in my bio. I imagine they'd lie a lot about not wanting sex, thinking they could convince you. I don't know if it's a sense of convince me. I think it's more of a case of they'll take what they can get. So if they can, like, a lot of guys these days are very desperate for love, romance, and affection. And so they will want some kind of intimacy, even if it's not sex, right? And so they'd rather have some intimacy than no intimacy. And so some of them I think are doing it because they know I like kissing, so they'd rather have some intimacy than no intimacy if they're not getting many girls to like them. It's a well-known fact by dating coaches, or they talk about it a lot, that that a lot of guys don't have as many choices as women on dating sites, and so they basically will take more of what they can get. So I think, you know, like in society, people are generally more lonely these days. There are a lot more people that feel disconnected, and when someone makes them feel alive, even if they're asexual, then that's a good experience for them. But I think a lot of them want an experience. I think that they want I've even had a guy say that to me. I'd love to have an asexual experience. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not they make me sound like I'm a red letter day. Like, I want an asexual experience, like a red letter day. It's like, I'm not a red letter day. You can't hire me for the day and give you an asexual experience. It's just like, but that's kind of like what I've been getting on some of the, like, when I was getting on some of the apps. So, but yeah, I think some of them probably think they can convince me. I dated a guy. Well, what was it? I met up with a guy years ago, and he said, but it wasn't really a proper date. It wasn't off a dating app. But then he said, "Oh, I just thought you were making up about being asexual." I said, "I have a channel. I told you I've got a channel. I do merchandise for asexual, so I write books. Clearly, there's a market there. There's people who are really asexual buying this stuff. So I'm not making that up, am I? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why would a person who's got a channel about asexuality, has books out about asexuality, who sells merchandise online about asexuality, why would they make that up? It's obvious I can't have an audience for these things unless asexuality really exists and is a real thing. You know, it's common sense, but common sense went out the window with some people a long time ago. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why? What would be the point in me making it up? Do you know what I mean? But obviously, if there's other things that I sell, there's clearly an audience for asexual. I know it's not just asexuals who watch this channel, because I cover a vast amount of topics. Dating, relationships, confidence, self-love, self-care are the main ones I do on the chat show. And then a lot of the time you'll see me doing lifestyle vlogs and entertainment vlogs and stuff like that, and short snippets of asexual education. So I like to do a variety on this channel, so there's kind of like something for everyone. But usually the chat shows here are more serious topics, although I do some movie reviews that are live as well, but they're usually on my laptop rather than phone. So, but yeah, so there's different reasons why people lie about not having sex. One is because they just want to lure me into some sort of intimate connection with them falsely. I think that's a big one. They want the connection. They think that, oh, if I tell her that, oh, I'll be fine without having sex, then she'd be more willing to kiss me. You know, that's the way I feel that they you know, they go with me. But it's horrible. They've said I'm looking for a girlfriend, and I'm like, you know, have you read my bio? I'm asexual. I tell them what it means, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm fine without sex. And it's just lies a lot of the time. There are a few guys in the world that can live without sex. I have them on my channel sometimes. They've got asexual partners, and they come to my channel for advice, help, or just, you know, to learn about asexuality, learn about their partner more. And I hold my hat off to those guys who do that, because it's incredible, you know, because not everyone can do that. But there are a few guys out there that can do that, because sex is not the most important thing to them. They value the person more than the sex. Is asexuality equally common across both biological sexes? Sorry for all the questions. No, I appreciate the questions. It's probably interesting for other people as well, because you're genuinely curious. So they tend to be more women asexuals than men, or at least in the community. I don't know if that's because a lot of guys would be tormented more for being asexual, and, you know, harassed a lot more about it and mocked, because guys are supposed to be this tough, like, sexual being, if you know what I mean, like animalistic type thing. But there tends to be a lot more women in the asexual community, than men. Like some of the asexual dating groups on Facebook, because I'm in other ones, just my own, it's just full of women. I'm not attracted to women. So again, that cuts me out of a lot of the market for being with an asexual partner, because the majority are non-romantic asexuals and the majority of them are female. I'm not interested. I'm a hyper romantic. I'm the opposite of that. I'm a very rare hyper romantic. I've only ever had a few asexuals ever come in comments saying they're hyper romantic too. But I'm a hyper kisser, and I've not met anyone so far that's remotely even close to being a hyper kisser of any sexuality, let alone asexual. It's not normal for asexuals to be like, most asexuals don't like much kissing at all. They really don't like much. It's a peck on the cheek, a little kiss on the lips, that's it. But I'm the opposite. I mean, I'm like hyper kisser. When I say a hyper kisser, I mean I can kiss for up to 4 hours or even more and not get bored. Nearly non-stop. I usually have to go to the toilet and get a snack or something, but usually nearly non-stop. I don't even know any sexuality that can do that. I don't know of anyone that can do that. I've not met them. There's got to be some people in the world that can do that besides me, but I haven't met them. They haven't come across my channel yet, because I've done a few videos on that just to put the feelers out there, you know what I mean? So yeah, most asexuals, they don't like kissing that much, and it's hard because I'm not really suitable in some ways for an asexual guy, because I'm either too sexual in behavior with the way I like to kiss and dance, even though I have no sexual attraction whatsoever, and I love passionate kissing, long kissing, or I'm not sexual enough for the grey asexuals. So grey asexuals, yeah, 4 hours. I've probably done it for longer than that as well. Yeah, I've kissed for like 4+ hours and not got bored. So there obviously in some sexuals, for example, heterosexuals, you can have a hypersexual. I'm not hypersexual, I'm a hyperkisser. So I've known of a hypersexual and they could have sex for 1 to 2 hours. I have no idea how they can do that. I have no idea how it doesn't get sore and be very painful and all that lot. But I've known them to tell me that. This is quite a long time ago they told me this. They actually came through the asexual community. That was a weird thing, but they were demisexual. So asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on lack of sexual attraction, but it's also a spectrum of identities called the asexual spectrum. And it ranges, there's 2 types of asexuals, to put it very mild, to put it very basic. I was going to say mildly, but basically pure asexuals like me who don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, and the grey asexuals that do experience sexual attraction but only under limited, rare or specific circumstances, or experience it but not enough to want to act on it. Now, as part of the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum, which is the part before the sexual spectrum, there is something called demisexual, which is someone who can only experience sexual attraction when a deep emotional bond has been formed, usually maintained and sustained by the other person as well. Up until that point, they can't experience it. So they're literally like asexual until they might form a bond with someone. This has got to be a deep bond. It might only be a few people in their lifetime, 4 or 5 people that they then experience sexual attraction with. And then some of those will want sex because they experience the usual sexual attraction, but only with that specific person. It gets very complicated, but this is not the same as having an emotional connection as a preference before you have sex. It's not a preference for them. They literally cannot experience any sexual attraction until they've had an emotional bond formed with that person, right? And this is, and it doesn't mean to say that every person they got an emotional bond with, they might get sexually attracted to, but the emotional bond has to be present, usually reciprocated from the other person, maintained and sustained for them to feel that. So some of those people then might not be able to be without sex. And so that person who I found out was hypersexual, they originally identified as demisexual, and they've been with their partner for a long time. I mean, they're married to them now, they got a kid with them, and they were specifically with the partner they're still with. They told me that in private about their relationship, basically, because I used to be really good close friends with them for a long time. And so they came through that the asexual community, and I was quite shocked to hear they were hypersexual. But I don't think they've experienced that with many people, if any at all, because I know they were in a relationship at one point with someone else who wasn't good for them, but the person they've been with, they were hypersexual with this specific person. And you know what I mean, they've been with them for years, and they were the kid. They didn't even expect to get married and have a child. So because I identify as non-binary as well. So yeah. So it's very interesting, but you know, they were very open about it with me. And yeah, so there are hypersexuals. So I'm like, what does that mean? They told me. So, but yes, I'm not interested in sex. I'm not interested in it at all. But the kissing, I can do that easily. I would love to find a guy who loves that as much as I do, like a hobby, a favorite hobby. For me, it's like a hobby I'd love to share with the guy. I like it that much, but the likelihood of me finding a guy like that is I haven't even come across one single person like that of any gender. Not that I'm interested in any other genders but guys, but it's very, very rare. So I tend to be too sexual in behavior for some asexuals, not sexual enough for some grey asexuals, because some grey asexuals do and will want to have sex. And I don't like taking my clothes off. So again, a lot of grey asexuals like naked body. I'm not interested in showing my naked body. But then with heterosexuals, because I don't actually want the sex and I don't experience sexual attraction, I'm not really suitable for heterosexuals. But I'm more suitable for heterosexual in terms of my behaviour, because of the way I like to kiss and dance is very sexy sometimes and sexual, even though I have zero sexual attraction. So it becomes like I'm not really I don't really fit in anywhere. I'm not really suitable for either, like for asexuals or for heterosexuals in lots of ways. But I'm more suited to heterosexuals in some ways in terms of the kissing, because it's a lot more appropriate, or seems to fit in a lot more with what heterosexuals are looking for. But then they expect that as a prequel to sex, and I'm really not interested in sex. I just like the kissing. That is my excitement. That's my pleasure. That's my intimacy. That's my making love with the tongue, as I call it. You know what I mean? That is why I have an extreme desire for, not genitalia, not below the waist. I'm fine to sit on a guy's lap or in between his legs, which you could argue is quite sexual, with his clothes on, not off. I'll really stress that. But I'm not interested in him taking his. I'm okay with his top off in private, but I don't want to be taking mine off. Like, if he wants to have his top off, that's up to him, but and don't expect it from me, and don't expect sex from me. So yeah, it makes it very difficult with dating. So I've been on Badoo. I'm still on Badoo actually, but I just don't use it hardly ever. I got a free premium account. I've been on there so long, they decided to give me a free premium account. So Facebook dating, I loved Facebook dating in the sense I've actually got dates from it, but all the 4 guys I said lied. One actually lied they were illegal immigrant in the country. That's what one lied about as well. They didn't tell me that at first. So yeah, I won't obviously divulge their identity, because I still respect the fact of that, but they lied to me. They didn't tell me the truth about that until I found it out later that they were illegal immigrants. So yeah, do you know what I mean? It was not good. But yeah, and then the other ones all lied to me about, well, the 2 of them lied to me about being in a relationship. They could be in a relationship with an asexual person. Then they changed their mind. And then, yeah, well, one was to do with my asexuality. The other one, I think, was partly to do with my asexuality, but probably partly to do with the fact they were younger, but I like younger guys and they knew it, but they said they could be in a relationship and then they just changed their mind. But then they weren't, you know, they weren't really honest. And then the other person was a person I was actually in a relationship with last year, and they valued dishonesty, which is why I ended up, you know, like we ended up splitting up. They valued different things to me, like dishonesty. They weren't honest, and other things. They valued fighting, physical fighting and stuff like that to solve arguments and things. I'm just not interested in that type of stuff. So that we actually split up for those reasons, different values, not because of my asexuality. Interestingly. So yeah, I hope that's answered your questions. Is asexuality explained partly by hormones? No, usually asexuality is just people's hormones are completely normal. Some asexuals can have sex drives, but they're not aimed at anyone. So they can still have a drive for sex, but it doesn't go, it's not targeted to anyone. So it's like they have a drive for sex, but it's not connected to anyone. It's just a sex drive they've got. Some people experience arousal, but no sexual attraction. I experience arousal, but no sexual attraction. My arousal's for kissing. I have high levels of arousal, zero sexual attraction, which adds another air of complication to things. So my tackle's fully working down there. But I'm just not interested in sex, and I don't get the urge for sex at all. I get aroused over kissing. Thinking about kissing, even just with myself, just thinking about kissing myself. Yeah. Sometimes I do kiss myself, but there's only so much kissing you can do with yourself, right? So it's like you kind of need another person to be able to do certain types of kissing with, really. But it's still nice kissing myself. It's good, especially if I haven't kissed for a while. So yeah, so usually asexuality has got nothing to do with hormones. It's just we're wired differently. I think our brains are wired differently a lot of the time. Like Dr. K, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. K. Kissing is quite an innocent preference, at least. Yeah, so for me, I like a teenager star relationship, not teenager. I like younger guys, 21 years old, 21, 23, that age group. Because my mindset's like, I reprogram my mind to be like 21 years ago using neuro-linguistic programming. I live like a teenager. I love it, you know. So my lifestyle is very, very young, which I love. I love being my young teenager self, right? But yeah, 21 and up. But I like a teenager style relationship. So what I mean by that is like the kissing, the cuddling, the holding hands, the chatting till the early hours of the morning, sitting in each other's laps between, you know, in between each other's legs, like kissing on the bus, kissing on the train, kissing around the city. I love kissing in public. If a guy can't kiss me in public, I can't be in a relationship with him. If he can kiss me in private and public, yeah, that's good. But if he can only kiss me in private, I'm not interested. I feel like a caged animal. I need to be free to kiss a guy wherever, you know, wherever we are, basically, even in the supermarket. And if a guy doesn't like that, he's uncomfortable, he should never be with me. I'm not interested. I don't want to be. I'd rather be single forever than have that type of relationship, which is very repressive to me personally. I know a lot of people are not like that, but I find it very repressive. It's like repressing and suppressing, probably because I'm a hyper kisser and a hyper romantic. I'm romantic with myself. Most weeks I take myself out to the cinema and date myself. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I love tongue kissing. Years ago, I used to think, oh, someone's tongue in my mouth. Then my ex did that to me when I obviously was in a relationship with him. And I began to really love it. And I'm like, oh, that's my favorite type of kissing now. Tongue kissing. I love it. I love it so much. I could talk about this for ages, but it's, you know, it makes me too excited really just talking about it. Yeah, so I love it. But yeah, so for me, I like, you know, when you see the movies and you see like, you know, like young couple get together and they're just having so much fun and they're chatting and, you know, they're just like cuddling and kissing and, you know, they don't care what other people think. That's what I like, you know. I don't care what other people think. I couldn't give a toss what other people think. No sexual pun intended. You know, and I just love being me. I love kissing on trains. Of course you get looks and I'm like, oh, look all you like. I don't care. Like if I see a couple kissing, I don't think bad. I think good for you. I'm like, it's great that you've got each other. You know, if people have just come into this conversation, I've deviated from the original title, just to let you know I'm talking about asexuality now. So if someone's hearing me talk about all this stuff, it's got nothing to do with what I was originally talking about. I'm deviating to asexuality. Apart from obviously it is hard to get a relationship, you know, that's good when you have such niche needs. Like I like younger foreign guys. I like foreign guys even though I love living in the UK. And I don't want sex, I don't want marriage, I don't want kids, and I prefer to live separately in a relationship. So that's why it's hard for me to find someone for a relationship. I'm like looking for a needle in a haystack. But I realise that I might be single forever for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that. I hope you find the right person. I will be more mindful of asexuality going forward. For example, it's easy to assume everyone is sexual when that isn't the case. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really important that people know that that isn't the case, because when people go on dating sites, right, they automatically usually think everyone's heterosexual. And it's really bad. It's bad for them and it's bad for people who are asexual, because obviously if people really need sex and want it in a relationship and they're talking to someone who's asexual, I'm very upfront. I write in my bio, but if someone's not upfront about their asexuality because they're scared of what people think, which quite a lot of asexuals are, then, by not asking, are you heterosexual? What sexuality do you class yourself as? By not asking the right questions, it's just wasting each other's time. If someone's like me, a sex repulsed asexual, and the other person's heterosexual and they're like hypersexual, they love sex, it's just total incompatibility. And you can just save yourself a lot of time and bother by just asking the right questions. It's like, don't assume everyone's monogamous either. I usually ask guys, I'm like, are you monogamous? They're like, what? They don't even know what it means. Monogamous, you just into one person, you just like one girlfriend, or do you like to have multiple girlfriends? And they're like, oh, they don't even know what it means. But some people are polyamorous these days. But some people are on dating sites and they usually admit they're polyamorous most of the time. If they're a real polyamorous person, this is not about cheating. This is about openly having multiple partners where all partners have consented to that and have a place in the relationship, if you know what I mean, with each other. So some people, you do get people on Badoo, for example, saying, oh, I'm already in a relationship, but we want an extra person, or I'm open to others, or whatever. It seems like asexual people would be less shallow on average because the non-physical might be even more important. Yes, I agree with you on that statement wholeheartedly. In general, not every asexual is a good person, because obviously you get people who are not so good. I've known a few, but on the whole, I'd say yes, they tend to be less shallow in terms of like relationships and what they're looking for and what they value, because we tend to value people who are, like personality and character traits more, and we value people who've got shared interests with us, shared hobbies, and obviously share values, because we're not like blindsided by attraction. I am more blindsided by attraction because I'm a hyper romantic. I'm being honest about myself. So it's harder for me, because just like someone gets blindsided by sexual attraction, I get blindsided by aesthetic and romantic attraction. A lot I can do. I have to like manage that carefully, and I have to just keep improving myself. I have improved myself on that because I'm aware of it and I'm aware of my tendencies. And I try to like live in reality and try to not let my mind get too carried away with the romantic side of things. But because I experience strong romantic and aesthetic attraction with some guys, it can make you very blindsided to the red flags and the not so healthy behaviors. So I'm a work in progress with that type of thing. I just have to keep improving myself, It's hard. But yes, so sexual attraction, for those who've had sexual attraction, it can be very problematic, because they become so sexually attracted to someone, but yet they don't have anything in common with them. And having sex with their partner acts as a band-aid to like cover up cracks in the relationship. Whereas if you're asexual in general, especially if you're not so hyper romantic as me, then you can usually see more about the character traits, and you base your decision on whether to have a relationship more based on how much you have in common with the person, how much interest you have, how much shared interests. Do you want to do the same type of things and hobbies and interests and hang out together? And it's more about hanging out than having when sexual people, it's like, oh, let's hook up and have sex. With asexuals, it's more like, even when you're getting to know an asexual, it's more like hanging out together, if you know what I mean. I haven't actually had asexual relationship, although technically I might have had one, but I don't know. So I ended up being in a relationship with a guy, but it was just online. It was nearly for a month, but we ended up splitting up because he got weird with me when I said I wouldn't take my clothes off in the hotel. So I don't think he was really asexual. He had disability that stopped him having sex, but he said he was asexual. But I think it's rather that he had a disability that prevented him having sex than he be actually asexual. Because if he was genuinely asexual, why would he be bothered that I'm not going to take my clothes off when I agreed to meet him at the hotel? Because he's got disabilities. He was in a wheelchair. I said I would meet him at the hotel, but I said no, I wouldn't be taking my clothes off, and he changed, his personality changed after that. So yeah, that wasn't good. Do you think people are asexual from birth? Nature, nurture. I think the majority of asexuals are asexual from birth, yeah, but don't realise it. I was born asexual but didn't realise it. I know, looking back now on my childhood and the way I was in school and college and everything, that I was definitely asexual from birth, but I just didn't realise it. So for example, I've told this like real life story before, is the fact that when I was 6, I had my first heterosexual boyfriend at 6 years old. He was 6 as well, and he wanted me to do sexual stuff with him, even at 6, and I just really wasn't interested. I liked passionate kissing at 6 years old. 6 years old, I was passionately kissing the boyfriend I had at that time, but I wasn't interested in sexual exploration, which apparently I was told by a counsellor at college. I was told by a counsellor at college that that's normal, sexual exploration with their kids. I'm like thinking that was normal to me. I didn't want to do that. That's far too young. Yeah, 6 years old. It's really, really young. It's when you are very impressionable. And it wasn't even a good relationship, it was a bad relationship. At 6 it's not normal. Yeah, I know. The guy was the same age as me. It wasn't like he was older or anything. But all the counsellor took. So I went to see a college counsellor when I was 17, and I told her about it because I was still really upset that he was asking me to do sexual stuff. Felt very invaded and that. But she just said that's just normal. It's doctors and nurses. It's normal for kids to do sexual exploration. I'm like, what? I was devastated. She's like, why are you crying? I don't understand why you're crying. That's just normal behaviour. And I was absolutely in bits. I'd been feeling so guilty about that for years. I felt guilty that I allowed the guy to do stuff with me that I wasn't even wanting to do, because I felt pressurized to do it at 6 years old, even though he was the same age as me. So yeah, it was just awful. But yeah, pre-puberty is definitely not okay. We were the same age. We were both 6. We both went to the same school. So that's how we knew each other. And our parents were friends. So yeah, but that's what the counsellor told me at college. She was it's horrible what these professionals say, isn't it? It's ridiculous. But yeah, I was really upset about it, because it's something that really, I felt guilty about it. I felt guilty that I let a guy do stuff that I didn't really want to do. When I didn't really want to do it because I felt pressurized and stuff. Yeah, so he asked me. He didn't just do that, but I felt obliged to do that, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit of a long story, but basically I lacked self-love back then as a kid, and so he was blackmailing me as well at 6 years old. It's a bit of a very, it's not good for me, because obviously that affected me, and it's bound to affect how I've been in relationships since. So I always have work to do on myself. At any age, you can't consent. At that age, you can't consent anyway. He didn't actually have sex with me. So it wasn't sex he had with me. It was sexual exploration, which basically means seeing things, asking to see things and touch things and stuff. I just don't, I just like it's not good. So what? I didn't have sex with him. He didn't have sex with me. He didn't ask me for sex, but I still didn't like it. I didn't like that. I hated it. And at college at 17, I was like talking to the counselor about it, because I was still devastated. I was devastated that I allowed that, because I felt really pressurized and stuff to do that. And and instead of her like saying, that's not good, also that counselor sounds like an idiot. Well, yeah, now I realize, like listening to you, but I've like a lot of the time I haven't even had many other people say that it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's good that she dismissed my feelings like that, the counselor. Because I know that would be like, if someone said that, I think they were dismissing what I said, and they would make it very trivial. They were like trivializing it, if you know what I mean, making it like no big deal. And they're like, I don't understand why you're upset. This is like what they were saying to me when I was 17. I don't understand why you're upset. Just it's sexual exploration. That's normal. But I like looking back, I'm thinking I was definitely asexual because I wasn't interested in the sexual side of stuff at all. I was literally just interested in kissing. That's all I was interested in. And then when I was at school, and any guy I was attracted to, I just wanted to kiss him and hold his hand. I wasn't interested in sex. I didn't even think about that. If it's important to you, then they should care. But objectively, that's a big deal at age 6. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a big deal, and obviously it was a difficult experience. It's like the experience, like to say I was upset about it at 17 years old, and that happened at 6. It's like 11 years later, and I was still quite traumatized by that, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? So it was hard. I felt better for getting, for saying about it, even though it wasn't, I didn't get the response that I thought would be a good response. But it just wasn't good. And 6 is very young. I mean, I don't even know many heterosexual people who have had, I mean, this guy was heterosexual, obviously, but, well, I say obviously, it's not necessarily obvious, but from the behavior you can probably tell. But yeah, so he was heterosexual, and I didn't know I wasn't at that time. I thought I was, because I've been brought up to be heterosexual, even though I'm not. And yeah, so it was horrible, really. I'm very skeptical of any school counsellors. I had a bad experience myself with them. Maybe it's like a night class they have to do or something. This was in college. This wasn't school. This was college. I went to college from 16 to 19 years. I went to college. I went for 3 years to college. I'm really sorry you had a bad experience too. That's awful. This person had their own building just outside the college. There was an actual building there for the counsellor to be in. And I think the sick bay was in the same area as well. I think it was in the same building as well. I mean, how qualified are they? I thought they were meant to be an actual proper professional qualified counsellor, as far as I know. They were meant to actually be a qualified counsellor. As far as I know, they were technically by some. I mean, I just think it's terrible. But do you know how I found out I'm asexual in 2014? Like I told you, I found out I'm asexual in 2014 because it was in 2013 I dated a Bangladesh guy, which I thought was so hot, but I couldn't bring myself to have sex with him. But it was in 2014 I went to see a counsellor because I was worried that I couldn't have sex in a relationship anymore, and I wanted kissing and cuddling, but I didn't want sex, and I thought I was going to be alone forever. And she was the one who turned around, a professionally qualified, trained counsellor on the NHS in the UK, turned around and told me that I would have to have sex in order to keep a good guy. And I wish I was joking about that, but I'm really not. That's how I found, that's what led to me finding out I'm asexual, because I was like horrified. I'm like, how can a professionally trained counsellor tell me I'd have to have sex in order to keep a good guy? One is I don't want sex. I don't like it. So how would the guy be any good for me if he was expecting me to do something I didn't want to do? And 2 is, why would I have to do that for him to be good to me? And 3, to get love from him? It sends a damaging wrong message to both me and anyone else. It is appalling. I totally agree with you, AA. It's completely appalling. That's how I found out. So I went home and Googled because I was horrified. I'm like, I come to her to get advice because the expectation of sex at the end of the night with a date with a heterosexual guy was making me almost wet myself. That's how bad it was. At that point, like being with a heterosexual on a date, that's how bad it was. And so I wanted kissing, cuddling, and relationship. I just didn't want sex. And that's when I went home and I googled I love kissing but not sex, and then it came up with asexuality.org, which is the world's biggest online forum for asexuals. And I was like, oh my god, there was just other people like me there that wanted a relationship without sex. And I was like, this is incredible. I didn't know other people existed. I honestly thought I was the only one in the world, planet, and universe that felt this way. I still feel that way now, obviously. And I just was gobsmacked in a good way. AA, I've had a mixed experience with NHS mental health professionals. They should be trained on this stuff. I think they should be trained on this stuff, but I think I think they should definitely be trained in asexuality. But I think I don't know how anyone can even say that you've got to have sex in order to keep a good guy. I mean, it should be common sense that that's just, that's saying you've got to do something for someone to be good to you. It's just like the two sentences are completely the opposite. You shouldn't have to do anything for someone to behave good to you. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously you treat people, you have to treat another person, well, you should treat another person with respect, but you shouldn't have to do anything to make someone be good to you. Like, you shouldn't have to do anything for someone to treat you well. That's what I'm saying. And to get love. It shouldn't be conditional like that. They should be trained on this stuff. Is there an overlap between neurodiversity and asexuality? Yes, for some asexuals. So not every asexual is neurodivergent, but there are a proportion of the asexual community that is also neurodivergent. So people think that everyone who's autistic, well, some people think that everyone who's autistic is automatically asexual, but this isn't true. I know autistic guys, and they're definitely not asexual. They're definitely very sexual beings. But there tends to be quite a lot of autistic people in the asexual community. There's a lot of non-binary. I think they make up about 10%. And non-binary, it's probably similar. I'm guessing, but I don't know the facts of this. I'm guessing it's probably similar, but it might be a bit more neurodivergent people. I'm autistic and not asexual. Oh, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm really glad, because it's not fair when people just label everyone who's autistic as asexual or vice versa. Everyone who's asexual autistic, or everyone who's autistic as asexual, because they're just not. I'm glad you said that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate your questions. Yeah, so I've had, well, the connection that I was talking about at the beginning of this video, they were autistic, but I actually met them through the asexual community, but they don't identify as asexual anymore. But I've had other, and actually there was another autistic friend I had in the asexual community, and they don't identify as asexual anymore. So, yeah, it's important that people know that just because someone's autistic doesn't make them asexual, and vice versa. It's very important. But yes, there is some overlap, and there's quite, like I said, I think there's 10% of the asexual population that identifies as non-binary as well. But yeah, but gender is not the same as asexuality, because I get that question quite a lot. Oh, right, so it's to do with gender. I'm like, no, asexuality is a sexual orientation. It's got nothing to do with gender. You can be any gender and be asexual. You could be male, female, non-binary, agender, gender fluid. Any type of gender, demi-boy, demi-girl, all types of things. You know what I mean? Like, there is no gender to it. But it does tend to be more female, asexual than male. I thought because I feel like the NHS are getting clued up on neurodiversity, but I hope they are getting clued up on asexuality. I know there's some people doing some work in the LGBT community. So asexuality is like part of the LGBT plus QIA, the A standing for asexual, but it can also stand for agender and aromantic, I believe, as well, although they've been kind of like added as extra bits to the A. So yeah, but I personally have a mission of getting asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation in its own right throughout the globe. So no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. So I'm here to like bridge the gap between sexuals and asexuals, basically, because I've had sexual relationships for a lot of my life. I've been in heterosexual relationships or with heterosexual relationships throughout my life. For a lot of the relationships I've had, they've been with heterosexual guys, not asexuals, and I thought I was heterosexual for years. So I kind of understand heterosexuals a lot, as much as I could understand them and can understand them without actually being it myself, because I thought I was it for such a long time. So I do understand heterosexuals a lot. And it's really weird, because I'm asexual and I help the asexual community, I run asexual groups. It's like there's two different worlds in the same world. There's like the sexual world and there's like the asexual world, but we're all living in the same world together. It's quite weird. It's like living in two separate worlds at once. It's very strange. But yeah, there's some people that are doing some work in the LGBT community, but I specifically specialize in connecting with all different types of sexualities rather than just asexuals, if you know what I mean. My focus is not specifically doing work in the LGBT plus community. I think there's enough asexuals doing that. My goal is to connect with thought leaders and raise awareness of asexuality. So I'm in quite a lot of entrepreneur groups as well. I talk about asexuality. My talk at Blue Talks for Oxford University featured asexuality. So I've got on a lot of podcasts. Like I've been featured in the UK. I've been featured on the BBC radio. I've been featured on the Jeremy Vine show. But further afield, I've been featured on Dr. Owl's show, Lifeology radio show. Quite a number of podcasts, Sense of Soul podcast, Empowerography podcast. I got quite a lot of them, and these broadcast out to other like radio stations and things like that. And I'm on Connect TV. My talk at Oxford University is on Connect TV. Although it's not just about asexuality, it's how to reinvent yourself to become your best future self, which is kind of what I'm doing again now. I'm going through a reinvention with the lost connection. I'm reinventing myself, if you like, because I'm getting fitter, stronger in my own body, stronger in my own mind, a lot more independent again, I've got a lot of inner peace, reconnecting with myself, like chilling out with myself, which is amazing, just to chill out. I'm like so much more relaxed now. I think it shows as well, because I find that people are much more receptive to me. Like when I'm traveling on public transport, although I didn't really travel on public transport much before, but when I did it with this person, so I couldn't really get to talk to other people anyway. But I just find like it's not a repressive situation anymore. Like I'm free to be me, and I'm very energetic and bubbly and loud, and I really love that about myself. And so I just find that people are like, they're very curious, whereas the connection that I lost, the person I didn't think was very curious about me in the end, they didn't ask me many questions about myself, and I brought that to their attention. But do you know what I mean? It's like no longer do I have to think like, oh, they were not asking me much about myself. I'm like getting asked by random strangers like questions about myself, people taking interest, people who not wanting to even stop talking to me, or if they do stop talking to me, it's like really like, oh, nice to see you type thing. So it clearly shows that I'm happier and more confident in myself and feeling better without that toxicity anymore. You know what I mean? So going back to AA's question in chat, is adoption common in the asexual community? I guess so. Well, a lot of asexuals don't want children. So I've got an asexual perspectives book, by the way, which I've got 47 asexual stories. I always forget because I'm one of the 47. There's 46 plus my own. So this is a book I published in 2017 because I'm a published author under my own book publishing imprint called Quirky Books. This is on Amazon if you ever want to get a copy, because it's good to educate if you're interested. Just type in Asexual Perspectives on Amazon. You can get it from bookstores as well, but Amazon's the most popular one to go to. So there's quite a lot of people. The reason I talk about this book is there's quite one of the questions I ask in this book is, do you want kids, and if so, like how would that happen? Would it be by natural means or other? So but there's quite a lot of asexuals in the book that don't want children at all. I don't want kids, but there are a proportion of asexuals who will have sex just to have children. They might never have sex ever again in their life. And then there's some people that do want a family, they want it naturally. And I don't know like how, some of them will only have sex just to have their children and never have sex again. And then others want a family, but I don't know their sexual stance because they could be sex positive as well, if you know what I mean. Some asexuals will adopt, some will have artificial insemination and stuff like that. Yeah, so I knew at 15 years old, before I found out I'm asexual, I knew at 15 I never wanted children. And I questioned myself at 15 years old if I would want to adopt. And then I realised even at 15, I'm like, no, I don't even want to adopt. I don't want that lifestyle, I don't want to be a mum. I don't want to be taking care of something. I like being young myself, so I don't want kids. I don't want that lifestyle. I want to be free to go and do what I want, when I want, at whatever time I want, That's so interesting. Thank you. Yeah. So in this book, I ask all the asexuals in it about love, life, and sex from an asexual point of view. So what do asexuals think about having kids? What do they think about marriage? What do they think about living together? But also harder questions like, what do they think about porn, BDSM, kinks? What's the difference between sexual attraction and sexual desire? What's the difference between sexual attraction and arousal, for example? This is all answered through questions I ask all different people across the asexual spectrum and globe. So yeah, it's a really handy book to have. It talks about asexuality and the asexual spectrum in real life context, because loads of people can get stuff off the internet about asexuality, but there's a lot of myths as well and stereotypes. But this is really good, this book, because it shows asexuality in real life context, not just gives textbook definitions of it, so you can understand it more deeply, if you know what I mean, because it's like real life circumstances. So well done on book. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is a bestseller. It's a bestseller in the UK, this one. I did bring out this one last year, which was Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Asexual. This was international bestseller. So it was a bestseller in the UK and internationally, like globally on Amazon. Like bestseller. It was like a #1 hot new release as well. But yeah. So those are like my two asexual books thing, because it dives into dating. It actually dissects text messages from a guy who's a heterosexual guy. And it dissects them to what he says and what he actually means. Because sometimes what guys say and what they mean is two different things. You must have helped a lot of people understand themselves better. Thank you. Yeah. I know this book, to be honest, to save some people's lives. I got a private message to say they felt like some people felt suicidal before they read this book because they felt like they were broken and there was something deeply wrong with them. And so it's kind of saved some people's lives. That's what they've told me in messages anyway. So yeah, I am really happy about that. And some people just weren't okay. They just were very stressed and distressed about being asexual. And those people said they felt broken until they read this book, and then they got the book and they realized they're okay to be themselves, and it's just like normal for some people to be asexual, and they felt not broken after they read the book. So yeah, the Asexual Perspective book does change a lot of lives. Even now I sell it. I don't sell as many copies because it's been out since 2017, but I still sell it. Yeah, so it's a very thick book as well. But yeah, it does help people to understand themselves better. Usually because it's different types of asexuals in the book. There's usually some asexuals that someone relates to. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many different types of asexuals. Not every asexual specific definition is in the book, if you know what I mean, because there's so many subcategories. So you got subcategories of categories. So my full title, for example, like I can just say I'm a heteromantic asexual. That means I'm attracted to guys romantically. That's what I usually say to keep it simple. If I want to say my whole label, if you like, I can say I'm a heteromantic, hyperromantic, hyper kisser, asexual younger cougar who doesn't like sex, just kissing with grey areas, or grey A. But a grey A usually means you have some sexual attraction, but only under limited, rare or specific circumstances, or you haven't not enough to want to act on it. But I redefine grey A to mean grey areas in this book, because I have some sexual behaviour with the way I like to kiss and dance, but that's not actually a grey A means. But yeah, I like younger guys, so sometimes I put cougar on there, and some people have a major problem with that. Because they're like, cougar's got really bad connotations, it's really horrible, why are you saying that, blah 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 blah. I'm like, well, if I'm on dating sites, I want people to know that I'm into younger guys, not guys anywhere near my birth certificate. I don't relate to them. I have nothing in common with them. I've not got their energy. I don't even relate to them. For me, they feel like they're 20 years older or something. Some guys I've seen are actually look like 20 years older than me that are around my birth certificate, which I'm not interested in even talking about, because I'm just not interested in it. I have no affiliation with it whatsoever. It's just like a piece of paper to me. That's a mouthful. Yeah, it's a real mouthful. So I usually just stick to heteromantic asexual, means I'm hetero, attracted to the opposite gender romantically, not sexually. That's my main thing, because it is a mouthful. It's just I tend to go more. I mean, I don't always put hyper kisser on there. Usually I probably don't, to be honest. Nothing wrong with saying cougar, thank you. I probably, most of the time, I think I just put heteromantic, hyperromantic, grey asexual younger cougar who doesn't like sex, just kissing. But I'm not textbook grey A, so I got criticised for that. They're like, well, you don't experience any sexual attraction, so technically you're not a grey A. But grey A used to mean like a catch-all term between asexual and sexual, but I am a pure asexual because I don't experience any sexual attraction, but I just do have some sexual behavior in the way I like to kiss and dance. And sometimes that can be too sexual for some pure asexual guys, for example. So I found it easier on dating sites to say I'm grey asexual. You know, I have grey areas because, you know, then they're not so surprised if I love passionate kissing. Thank you. Nothing wrong with saying you're a cougar. Yeah, I've had some people really criticize me for it. I'm like, well, whatever. It's my life, and I don't have a problem with it. I mean, there's tons of, you know, there's tons of guys that pat on the back for being with younger, yeah, some being with younger girls. But I like younger guys, and I can't help it. I just really not usually attracted to any guys near my birth certificate age. I dated years ago a guy who was older than me. He was 42, and that was, oops, sorry, just knocked water off. That was like really like much older than I would usually be interested in. And you know, and I just like I dated him for 3 months, but he was highly sexual, and he wasn't honest in the end. And I just, do you know what I mean? He was like I ended up being like it's more like I was like his girlfriend, but not. And then he was hiding something because he's going, oh, if you ever post a picture of me and you on social media, then I'll end it between me and you, even though I wasn't in a relationship. And he ended up being a real life psychopath. I've shared that story, real life story, on my channel before. But basically, we went away for a weekend together, separate bedrooms, and we went to a Ministry of Sound event at a theme park in the UK. And they confiscated a blade he had on him. So this is what I mean by a real life psychopath. I didn't know he had it on him. They confiscated, and they said, if you ever come in here again with that, then they'll tell the police. And I said, who were you going to like kill with that or hurt with that? And he's like, not you. And I'm thinking, oh my God. He was you know, that's really psychopathic. And he was saying really weird stuff. He believes everyone should have chips in their brain, like microchips, every human in the world. And, you know, I was like, you know, that's thanks for the live. It's been really informative, and your energy is infectious. Good night. Oh, I'm glad you appreciate my energy. Thank you so much. Before I go, I am going to wrap up to just recap on some of the ways my life's transformed for the better. Obviously, if you have to go, that's fine. Thank you for being here. But I always like to wrap up and recap over some of the things that I've been saying in the beginning of this video, because we've gone and diverted onto asexuality, which is great because it's my favorite topic to talk about, amongst other things. But it's my very favorite, probably, because obviously I love being asexual. So yeah, I do love being asexual. That's an important thing to say. Like I really am grateful that I'm asexual, really, which some asexuals are not happy about being asexual, but I really am. I do like the fact I don't experience any sexual attraction. I do like the fact I'm different. I do like the fact that I'm not obsessed with sex and that I'm not thinking about that. It makes it harder to find a relationship, if I'm honest, because the majority of the world population is interested in sex, but I'm still happy to be asexual. I find it very liberating. I feel like I'm interested in a lot more different things. You know what I mean? I have a lot more time for my hobbies, and well, most of it, I don't really, my kind of hobbies blend into like actual work, if you know what I mean, because it's all type the same thing. Like I do writing, so do you know what I mean? If I publish the books, you know, I'm on YouTube, but I'm here all the time. You know, I'm not actually monetized on this channel at the moment, but I do it because I love it. I love talking to people. I love being here. I love answering asexual questions. I love helping people. And I really get a lot of pleasure and joy and happiness about just helping other people. I do have disabilities. So, you know, I was talking at the beginning of this video saying I do have disabilities. I broke 2 bones on my spine last year, as well as having fibromyalgia. So my disabilities are very difficult for me. But since like the former connection ended, you know, I have become a lot more stronger. So I have been getting my body a lot more fitter. You know, like I'm not a skinny girl, as you can tell. I'm really not skinny, but when I mean fitter, I mean stronger. You know, my leg muscles are stronger, my back muscles are stronger. Because I've been doing weights, I've been doing a lot of physiotherapy exercises. You know, it's really hard because it hurts when I do exercise, right? Because I got fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. But I need to exercise more now because of my spine, because that starts hurting if I don't. So I've got all these things going on. So, you know, one of the conclusions I came to is that I'm going to be in pain whether I exercise a lot or I don't, but it's better to be fitter, be strong in my body, especially now I have to take care of myself sololy with my disabilities. I don't have any help anymore with that. So I have to be stronger. But some days, I can be like lied on the bed and in so much pain. Other days I can be like bouncing around like this. Do you know what I mean? So it's up and down. And sometimes, I'm like restricted to the house because I just don't have the energy to go out. I'm in too much pain and I just get exhausted and I'm lied on the bed or whatever. I try to do exercise every day. I've been really good at doing some type of exercise pretty much every day since the former connection ended. So I've been trying to get myself really strong, because when you're stronger in your body, you're usually stronger in your mind, you're stronger in your soul, you're more confident. So even if, I'm not skinny, right? But you can be fit, as in strong, without being skinny. And I do put some videos out there. You might have seen me do some weight videos, some shorts videos. So I want to show people you don't have to be a skinny person to be fitter and to be stronger. Right? Fitness is not just about being skinny. It's about what you eat. And I do eat pretty healthily, as you probably noticed. And I do try to do exercise in my own home with what I'm capable of doing, right? So I want to prove to people that it's not just about like what weight you are, it's about the mentality you have and trying to get stronger in your own body regardless of your size. It's really, really important. And since that connection's ended, I've been getting myself a lot more physically stronger because I've had more inner peace. I've been less anxious, less stressed. So when my body's less stressed, it hurts less. It still hurts because I've got permanent pain disabilities, right? And the spinal injuries damaged my spine for life, right? So I still get pain, but it's not as much as it would be had I got all that stress from an imbalance in a friendship, for example, like going on with me. That was very stressful. It was very draining when, I feel like I'm the one trying to repair the friendship all the time by having difficult conversations and things like that. It gets very draining, very tiring, very exhausting. I'm not saying that I'm a peach. I'm not saying, like I'm perfect. They probably got tired of helping me with my disabilities and drained maybe by some things for me. I don't know, because I feel they didn't, they're like more of an older soul and I'm a younger soul. So it didn't really, we managed to get, still have a friendship, even though we're very different people. But do you know what I mean? Like I like people who appreciate my energy more, that like me being more bouncy and bubbly and stuff like that. It's, like now I can be myself more again. Now I can be free to be me. I'm a lot more chilled with myself. I talk about, I say like I'm just chilling, but my main focus these days is on health, nutrition, right? When I say health, getting fit in my body, strong in my body. I'm not talking about dieting. I don't do dieting. I get low blood sugar and I'm allergic to sugar. So it's very difficult for me. And I have a low metabolism, which is crap, but it is the way it is, right? Excuse the language, right? So I've got a Eufy scale, which is a digital scale. Like I burn about 1,300 to 1,400 calories, and it's like the body should be burning 2,000. Right? I have digestive issues, and I have to take supplements and all sorts. I have a lot of food allergies and intolerances, and all this adds to the mix, right? And I eat late at night because I can't sleep because I get nightmares, so I can't sleep till like 4 a.m., which is probably why I have more weight than people, because not the food I eat is not unhealthy, the majority of it, but I just eat really late at night. Because of I don't get up to I go to sleep at 4 a.m. or later usually, get up at midday. So then I'm on a time scale, but I find I'm more creative. If I get up in the morning, it's awful. A lot of the time I'm not feeling good. I don't have as much energy and it's like, do you know what I mean? But you have to work to your own time scale in life. And I want to inspire people that just because they're different body shapes and they're not all skinny, that you can actually still get fitter and healthier and stronger. Because if you're fitter in your own body, that's already a healthier thing, right? You still eat healthier foods even if you've got more weight on you. Doesn't mean to say you don't eat healthily. It just means that your metabolism might be slower or some other thing, right? So everything needs to be taken into account. And sometimes I do get very housebound because I can't go out as much because of my disabilities. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying when I'm in my home to still keep up exercise, but it's hard. My back hurts. Like even when I was in the Apple store earlier, my spine was hurting me just sat up there, on a stool type thing. So, but I'm a lot more calmer. I'm a lot more chilled. I'm sat on my toilet sometimes and I'm just chilling in the toilet. I'm like, oh, I can just be myself. I haven't got to worry about anything because I have got an anxious attachment style, like being on your own and not having in-person friends. It's just actually very relieving. It's like I don't have to be anxiously attached anymore. I don't have to be thinking, oh, what they doing? Are they all right? Worrying about them and stuff like this. I can just be like, what I have to do now is take care of myself and worry about myself. And obviously I do this channel. Hopefully you like the different mixes of videos, entertainment, education, information, lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's all good. And I have a lot more time to be able to do this channel now. I have a lot more time to, I can do shopping. I can get all the items that I want to get that I can possibly carry. You know, no worrying about, oh, where it's, you know, like, oh, we can't take this is too much, do it this way, do it that way. Like, obviously, when you're in a connection, you have to compromise. But when you're on your own, you can just do what the hell you want. You can pack it how you want, be chilled with it, you know what I mean? So I just find a lot more freedom being with myself, to be honest. And I think if I'm positive about myself, my body, my image, my life, my strength, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most. But if you are the only person you hang around with, make sure that you're plowing positivity into yourself. I listen to positive affirmations usually every morning and every night, you know, and it's really important. Like, not, my mind's not good all the time. Sometimes it's down, you know, because obviously I've lost a connection, and the way it happened was suddenly. That does take a toll. But I realise, in a way, they've done me a big favour. I'm like, well, if that's where they're going to end up being, you know, unhealthy for me, then it's better that we part ways, because I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be treated like that. I deserve to have respect, honesty, not deception, not my reality blurred. I deserve to have truth, and I deserve to have someone who also wants to work through difficulties together, not so you're on your own, and who wants to talk about how to have difficult conversations that aren't easy. It's not easy for me to have difficult conversations, but, you know I have to. I've tried over the last year to get really much better at having difficult conversations. It's not easy for me. I don't like doing them, but I have to practice them, because it's actually healthy connections and relationships are based on your ability to be able to have difficult conversations and deal with conflict in a way that is helpful to both of you, not one shutting down or avoiding the situation, etc., or both of you avoiding the difficult stuff. You have to have difficult conversations. So I just wanted to tell you that, you know, like, I feel I'm excelling. I mean, I've never had this amount of views ever on this channel in one go, like over 83,000 views in 28 days. I mean, this is like so much more. I think the most I've ever got before was like 42. I'm nearly at double that now. Do you know what I mean? It's like really good. And it's because I feel a lot freer. I feel a lot happier. I feel a lot better in my own body. Even though I'm not a skinny girl, I feel a lot more confident. I feel like people genuinely want to talk to me, which I wasn't getting the feeling from the connection I had in the end. Like, not inquisitively, not curiously. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like I'm just feeling better, you know? I'm feeling better that I'm not in that situation anymore. I'm like relieved. You know, when you're like just chilled with yourself and like, oh, so peaceful. Anxiety's gone. I'm still anxious person because I have an anxiety condition, but I'm a lot less anxious now. I'm a lot more chilled. You know what I mean? It's really good for me. So sometimes walking away from something that ends up being unhealthy and toxic for you, even if you didn't think it was originally, is actually a blessing in disguise sometimes. And sometimes the hardest and harshest way things end is actually the best way for you. You know, this person has gone back to someone who's a deceiver, and they've reconnected with the deceiver. Why they want to do that, I do not know. But 2 peas in a pod, eh? You know what I mean? It's like, well, basically they haven't been honest with me over the last couple of years because I've felt there's a dynamic shift, you know, and they were denying it the whole time. So basically that's like blurring my reality and deceiving as well. So it's like they're welcome to each other. Good for them. Both deceivers together, boom, boom. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, if that's the way they're going to treat people, you know, it's not good. I'm really sad to even say that about my former connection, you know, because it's like, that's not the way I thought they were, but you know what I mean? But there's clearly dishonesty there, and I'm just glad to be out of that. Like, you know, when someone's not being totally honest with you, you don't know what's real and what isn't anymore, But looking back, you can see some things that weren't good. And, I don't deserve to be treated with disrespect. I deserve to be treated with, respect and someone actually interested in me as a person and spending time with me for the right reasons, not because they feel they've got to or because I said something to them, but because they genuinely want to. So anyway, I'm really happy that things have progressed in a good way for me. I'm a lot more chilled. I know I can literally be on my own. The irony of the whole situation is this person thinks they can be on their own, yet they see multiple people every week. And I'm actually usually on my own completely now. Because I don't have that connection anymore. You know what I mean? It's just basically me. No in-person friends. Although I did make a friend recently, but they're not a completely honest person. So, you know what I mean? I can't really class them as a really close friend or anything. So, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just chilling with myself. And I think, when you feel better for a connection ending, even if you felt really close to that person, that's a telltale sign that you're healing and your nervous system's calming down, because clearly there was something wrong in that connection. And because otherwise you'd be, I'm not feeling like, I thought I'd be really, really upset for months, and I still get upset sometimes, don't get me wrong, but majority of the time, if I'm just thinking of the present and the future, the majority of the time I'm feeling good. I know I made the right decision to walk away for definite. There's no doubt about it. But, it's not always easy. It's not easy at all what I did. I don't think anyone can walk away usually and not have any other in-person friends and who they relied on for their disabilities and have no disability help. I don't know anyone that could usually do that. It takes a lot of guts, a lot of strength, a lot of courage, but you've got to do it. Because you can't accept bad behaviour, because they'll just keep getting worse and worse and worse, which is clearly what was happening. Till it all came to a crescendo. Do you know what I mean? So it's sad. I feel a bit sad that it ended like that the person showed their true colours. But I'm grateful in a way, because I'm like, well, at least now I don't have to carry on knowing there's an imbalance, but being denied there's an imbalance in that connection. And now I can just be like, well, I was right all along, even though they denied it. And so I just chill out with myself and think, well, I'm grateful for the help they did give me. I'm grateful for the good, but I don't appreciate the disrespect and the not good stuff in the end. So, I'm just proud that I had the courage to walk away and that I don't have to be in direct contact. When I say indirect contact, I still have to have some contact with this person, because at the moment I'm legally tied to them, but I haven't spoke to them for well over a month now, in any communication, with them. So I feel much better for doing that. I don't really want to speak to them again, to be honest, but I might have to for a legal reason. Probably will have to at some point, because it's just I'm legally tied to them still. But other than that, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm not interested in them anymore. There's something that Matthew Hussey teaches, right? So I'm part of Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. And I have to say, being in this club has completely changed my life for the better. Like, I wouldn't have had the courage, I don't think, to leave this connection for good in the way I did without being in the Love Life Club. Matthew Hussey is the world's #1 dating and relationship coach on YouTube and literally in the world. He's got over 17 years experience, right? And I don't think I would have had the courage and conviction and confidence to leave this connection, because years ago I wouldn't have done that. I would have stayed in a situation that's very toxic for me, where it's completely a power imbalance, where they think they can do what they like, and even if I'm hurt and upset, it doesn't matter. They can just carry on doing it. And regardless of how it makes me feel and how badly the situation is for me, right? And that would get me very angry, feeling angry and frustrated and upset, and feeling like, why don't they care about me? Why don't they care enough to understand how this is affecting me and making me upset? Now I'm just like, you've done the best thing. You told the person, if they reconnect with someone who deceived you for years, that you likely couldn't be friends with them anymore. They made their choice and decision to do that, and so it's like, you're out of there. I don't want anything to do with that form of person, even indirectly. They were toxic, they deceived me. If they're going back to a deceiver, what does that say about them? They obviously can accept someone who deceived. They can accept a deceiver, right? It's ridiculous. This person deceived me for 5 years who they've gone back to. It's not like I don't believe in any deceptions, right? But for 5 whole years, a whole entire friendship with the previous person for 5 years, it's just ridiculous. And why they do that, I don't know. But, like attracts like, doesn't it? So yeah, but I don't want any part of it. And that person is also associated with people who are like not good, not healthy, and I don't want to be any part of that. Like in order to prove yourself in your life, you have to move on from toxicity, not go back to it, and not allow it back in your life again. You have to move on and move forward. That's about growth. You shouldn't be going backwards. Do you know what I mean? If you're going backwards and going back to someone who's deceived you or abused you, or going back to a toxic environment, that could just be environment, like even if it's online, like you might have been part of a group, but it's toxic to be in that group. Even if you like the subject topic, you don't want to be going back to that group again because it's no good for you, right? Once you move forward in your life, you don't go back. If you're going back in your life, you need, something's going on and you need to get some help for it. Do you know what I mean? We need to be progressing forward. Some people do take a few steps back before they go forward, but you shouldn't be taking steps back in terms of going to a toxic connection. You know what I mean? If connections are toxic for me, I cut. Not because I'm an unkind person, but because I've got self-love and self-respect. And I don't need people in my life that are going to treat me badly and be toxic for me and disrespectful. Why do I need that in my life? There's plenty of better people in the world. And I'd just rather be with myself. I'm a better person for myself. Why do I need that? I don't. I need less stress in my life. I need more peace and happiness, which now I've got. I've got my freedom with my bus pass, which they told me I couldn't get, which I have got because the council told me I'm entitled to it when they said I wasn't. And I can just chill out more. I don't have to worry about their feelings or their emotions anymore. Don't have to worry about inconsistency. I don't have to worry about avoidancy. I just can be chilling with myself. Just looking after myself. And it's a relief, to be honest. That's an absolute relief. I'm actually very good on my own. I'm better on my own, really, than with other people a lot of the time, I think. You know what I mean? It depends what people are. Obviously, there are some really good people out there. But, I think I'm best with myself. And that's what we're given in this world. As Matthew Hussey would say, we're given like one person to look after, and that's ourselves. That's our top priority always. But he does teach us in the Love Life Club to become disinterested in people that aren't interested in us. So obviously if someone displays behaviours, which means they don't respect you, they don't value, they don't really want you anymore in a healthy way, then it's like if someone's not interested in me, it's like I become less interested in them. I become disinterested. This is a very good skill to learn. It's a really good skill to learn. I didn't even know I could do it, right? But it's like, well, I'm not even interested in that person anymore, their life. I used to be so interested in their life and them. I'm not interested in them anymore. They can do what the fuck they want. I'm not interested. Because excuse my language, because they left, as far as I'm concerned, I don't even know who they are anymore. Like the way the connection ended, they were like a completely different person. I'm like, this is not the person I thought they were. The mask has fallen, hasn't it? So I'm like, I don't even know who you are anymore. I don't even know. To me, that person I thought you were is just dead. It's like you're walking around with a body, but the person I thought you were is gone. So it's just, it's just like the person's dead and you're just like walking around with a body. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know who they are anymore. I don't recognise them. So I'm disinterested in them because they're not interested in me. They don't value me. They made their choice and decision and I'm like making mine. I walk away. It's great. It's very empowering when you finally, if you felt an imbalance in a friendship or any connection and you felt like, they valued you less than you value them, blah, blah, blah. It's great to take your personal power back. It's great to walk away and say, right, actually, this is not acceptable. I've had enough of this behaviour. I'm out of here. I'm gone, right? I felt you didn't value me a lot and now you definitely don't value me if you're going back to someone who literally betrayed and deceived me for absolute years, right? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, how is that? And they're like, oh, I'm kind to everyone. I'm like, yeah, clearly not kind to me. While simultaneously being unkind to me. They're not kind to everyone. I know they're not. It's just their fallacy. They've told themselves. But they clearly can't be kind to people if they're just simultaneously being horrible to me the exact time they're saying they're kind to everyone. It's not kind to me to go reconnect with someone who deceived me for 5 years, knowing how much that hurt me. how is that kind? It's not. It's like you can't be kind to everyone anyway. Different people got different agendas, different people have got different lifestyles, different people like different things. It's impossible to be like, kind to everyone, because everyone has a different perception of kindness. And if you're just looking to be kind to everyone, you're just looking to people please. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not really realistic, is it? You can be kind in general to people, but if someone treats you badly, you have to go from that situation. Do you know what I mean? You have to go. So, but saying you're kind to everyone while simultaneously being so unkind to the person you're telling that to is just a complete lie. Complete lie. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't like lies. I don't like dishonest people. And I'm glad to be out of that situation. I don't know what even was real anymore. I'm like, well, what was genuine kindness from your own heart with me and helping me, and what was just ulterior motives? Do you know what I mean? Like, anyway, I'm glad to be out of all that rubbish, and I'm glad to be free, and I'm glad that I'm getting, I just feel so much better in my mind and my body and my spirit and my lifestyle and my happiness, and just breathing more easily, and just focus on, like I said, my health, nutrition. I'm talking about fitness, strength, focusing on happiness, and doing this channel more of it because it makes me feel so good to connect with you. And now I'm free to just go. I'm free even more, because at the end of the day, there's only me, so I could go wherever I wanted to go. I don't have any ties anymore to location. And although I like my home now, it's taken me a while to get a long time to get used to my own home, so I'll probably be staying here. Well, at the moment, I'm intending to stay here for the foreseeable future. And do you know what I mean? It's like, I just feel so much better. When you've been really trying to, like, work through things in a connection, and finally all that hard work is just like, you don't have to do it anymore, especially when you feel like you're kind of the one putting in a lot of the effort in. I'm not talking about acts of service, I'm talking about actually into the connection, like literally trying to have difficult conversations to solve difficulties and issues when you're the only one bringing them up, and they just they're just denying stuff. It's just like, you can't work with that. How can you work with that? You can't grow with that, because they're not even meeting you halfway. You know what I mean? It gets very energy draining and tiring. And so I'm just glad to be free of that. I'm glad to not be feeling devalued anymore. I'm glad to not be feeling like the person's not even interested in me, because they're not really asking me many questions about myself. I'm glad that I can do what I want when I want more now. I don't have to fit into that person's schedule. Like, yeah, they're probably relieved that, that their schedule's more free themselves as well, if I'm looking at it from their point of view. But not that they even deserve me to look at it from their point of view, really, but there we go. You know what I mean? But it's just good for me. It's really good for me, and I feel better. I just feel better to be more chilled and by myself, so you can walk away and be completely alone with, like, no in-person friends, and just chill the heck out by yourself, and you can still be good, and you can be really strong and successful. What I mean by successful, I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about successful in, well, maybe it's financial. I'm good with budgeting, but do you know what I mean? Like, just be really good with yourself, and just be happy in your own life, like, with things. I'm not from Canada, and I'm not from Scotland. I'm from the United Kingdom, England. That's where I'm from. So yeah, I've been streaming now for like 2 hours and 27 minutes. So I think it's probably time to end the stream. But I just wanted to go, you look Scottish. Do I look Scottish? That's very interesting. I don't speak with a Scottish accent. I don't know what someone who's Scottish looks like. So this is my hoodie. This is like streetwear. This is Hugo Boss stuff. Do Scottish people wear, like, street clothes, do they? Who knows? But I don't know. If you like Scottish people, great. If you don't, well, never mind. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question. So I'm from England, Exeter and the Devon, UK actually. So anyway, thank you for joining me tonight, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon, thumbs up if you got any value from this video whatsoever. Don't forget to grab a copy of Asexual Perspectives book we were talking about earlier on Amazon, and Diary Confessions of a Hyperromantic Asexual if you're into dating. So, and I look forward to seeing you next video or live stream. Take care and see you soon. Thank you to everyone in chat. So we've had Samuel, we've had AA a lot of times in chat today. There's lots of people as well that were chatting earlier in chat. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. P4L. So yeah, loads and loads of different people. So yeah. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. I'm sure I'll see you on the videos as well, my shorts. Check them out if you haven't already. And thank you for being here. And see you soon. Take care. Lots of love. Stay ace. Bye.